You lie half awake in the creaking wooden confines of the wagon, where the wind buffets the sides with a persistent murmur. Overhead, the canvas flaps intermittently, fluttering as if torn between shielding you and letting the chill through. Ice forms delicate patterns along the wooden edges, marking where your exhaled breath couldn't hold back the frost. Close by, a mule stirs restlessly, emitting a deep, weary snort that offers an unexpected solace amid the blackness. This isn't the idealized wild frontier of tales. It's the raw reality that underscores with quiet insistence how slender your chances of enduring might be without sheer, unyielding fortune. Out on this westward path, enduring the bitterest evenings truly commences well before drowsiness sets in. It emerges from that subtle, nagging realization that, as daylight wanes, no cozy shelter awaits. Only the provisions you've hauled, the crude shelter you've assembled, and the hasty adaptations you can muster. As twilight deepens, a living chill rises from the earth under the wagon, penetrating relentlessly. Historians frequently note that numerous families heading west departed in spring or early summer precisely to evade harsh winters, yet frigid nights ambushed them nonetheless. Even during milder seasons, the open prairies and elevated routes saw sudden plunges in temperature once shadows lengthened. That harsh lesson now infiltrates through your boot soles, settling into your very core. You remain clothed, as does everyone else. Shedding layers in the gloom seems foolhardy, nearly defiant, like challenging the frost to demonstrate its power. Woolen folds, cotton scraps, and mended odds and ends cling to your body. They chafe and reek subtly of perspiration and campfire residue, yet they form your primary bulwark. Survival teaches fast that ease isn't the aim, staying heated is. The wagon provides scant refuge. Its timber walls deflect some gusts, but the overhead fabric feels flimsy against fierce blasts. The racket never ceases. Flap, rasp, sigh. Every sound yanks you toward wakefulness. Instincts primed for threats, while your thoughts crave respite. On tougher evenings, you find yourself admiring those who opt to bed down under the wagon, treating it as a barrier to the breeze, instead of an enclosure that hoards icy drafts. Trail journals reveal an odd habit among some pioneers, cramming extra attire, grain bags, or even balled-up newsprint into seams and crevices come nightfall. Picture yourself mimicking that, jamming yielding items into breaches where the cold slips stealthily. It borders on absurd, akin to ceiling leaks in a run-down cabin, but in this vastness, minor actions count. The nearby fire has dwindled to embers. Blazes soothe the spirit, though they're deceptive in their fleeting glow, offering heat only to vanish when the logs crumble to cinders. Most groups allow the flames to fade before bedding down, both to minimize risks and because timber is too scarce for overnight vigilance. You extend your palms toward the dying warmth, fully aware it won't accompany you inside. Even shrouded in night, you're attuned to the companions nearby. A hack from an adjacent wagon, an infant's faint cry quickly soothed, the subdued whispers of grown-ups trading final thoughts, their tones muted, lest noise summon peril. Pooling warmth from bodies turns into an unspoken tactic. You huddle near, legs brushing, arms entwined, not from warmth of heart, but pure exigency. Scholars debate whether such close quarters truly aided in brutal freezes, but personal records imply it at least instilled a sense of holding on. The night's aroma is distinct and pervasive. Wood smoke embedded in fabric, sodden wool with its pungent beastly tang, and the crisp, loamy essence wafting from the soil below. These odors grow so ingrained that decades on, those who made it through could summon them vividly. For now, they weave into your inhalations, grounding you firmly in the present. Drifting off proves elusive. Your thoughts drift, attuned partly to the gale's whisper, partly reviewing the day's toll. You ponder the miles traversed, the vast expanse ahead. You dwell on the young ones, their frames shedding heat more swiftly, craving additional covers that remain perpetually scarce. There's an unwritten agreement among the grown-ups to bear the chill in silence, reserving any available heat for the little ones who need it most. Eventually, you stir awake for no clear reason. The quiet seems heavier now, more oppressive. You pause, holding your breath as you strain to listen. That's when it registers. The soft patter of snow, or maybe just your drowsiness, brushing against the wagon's cover. It's not alarming in volume, yet it underscores your vulnerability out here. On the trail, conditions shift abruptly, and predicting them relies mostly on rough estimates and old sayings. Even experts today argue over whether pioneers really grasped the weather patterns they faced, or just pushed through regardless. You ease into a slight adjustment, mindful not to disturb the others. The wooden planks groan faintly beneath you. Your hands feel numb, fingers slow to flex. You burrow them further into your coat arms, clinging to the fading warmth. Off in the distance, some creature huffs once, then quiets down. Its steady breaths turn strangely comforting. Time drags on like this, tracked not by timepieces, but by your repeated dozes and shifts. The darkness lingers interminably, taut with frost and waiting. But gradually, so subtly you almost miss it, the shadows lighten. The breeze calms, though the chill persists. Still, there's a quiet assurance that you've weathered yet another ordeal. As first light teases the horizon, faint and hesitant, a key realization dawns on you. Getting through the bitterest evenings, and the journey itself, isn't about overpowering the elements. It's about persisting alongside them, accepting the unease, and absorbing lessons from each vigil on how minimally you can survive and press forward. You rouse before sunrise, not from refreshment, but because the frost won't allow deeper rest. Your gaze meets a muted ashen glow seeping through the fabric. For an instant, disorientation clouds your mind. Then, the ache in your limbs jogs your memory. All evening, the wagon floor has been steadily drawing away your body heat, persistent and insidious, like an unseen pickpocket. You remain motionless, attuned to the subtle stirrings of the camp reviving. A metal vessel rattles softly. A cough echoes nearby. One of the horses paws the ground, restless and irritated. The soil is the true adversary, a lesson that sinks in fast out here. Chilly winds are tough enough, but the iced earth shows no mercy. Trail diaries frequently mention how families misjudged the warmth they surrendered to the ground below. Even in moderate frosts, it absorbed heat from slumbering forms relentlessly through the hours. You sense that reality in your lower back, your neck, any spot wedged too firmly against the rough boards and frozen dirt. Attempting to loosen up proves challenging. Your limbs stay knotted and tender. Your digits prickle as circulation creeps back, each twitch biting and unwelcome. This is the toll for enduring the dark. All around you, as fellow travelers rouse in their subdued manners, No one welcomes daybreak with enthusiasm. Trail dawns are all about utility. You grit through them before any easing sets in. Lowering your feet triggers instant remorse. The low-hanging air hits denser and sharper. Your footwear, abandoned nearby, stands rigid like frozen planks. Forcing them onto your feet demands both strength and resolve. There's a special irritation in battling stiff hides on an empty stomach, yet you recognize the futility of griping. It only squanders energy. A neighbor whispers a brief blessing, subdued rather than showy, but audible. Across the way, another group is nursing the embers from the prior blaze back to flame. Wisps of smoke curl upward, clinging low before ascending. The acrid, comforting scent reaches you, bringing a flicker of ease. Flames signal advancement. Flames declare the ordeal ended. One odd practice from various settler records is draping bedding atop heaps of dried grass or hay whenever feasible, even within the wagon confines. You recall attempting it before, scooping armfuls of crisp grassland at dusk. It offered minor relief, not enough for true comfort, but sufficient to show that slim separations count. Each barrier against the ground becomes a bargain with the freeze. You observe the deliberate pace of everyone's motions. Haste invites errors, and in this weather, slip-ups risk frostbitten extremities or more. The kids draw extra vigilance, palms warmed, soles inspected. A persistent vigilance lingers. The tiniest frames face the greatest peril. That duty weighs on you once more, burdensome yet routine. The meal is basic out of necessity. Tough loaves dampened in heated broth, perhaps drizzled with lard if fortune smiles. It's far from thrilling, but the heat revives you, and that's paramount. While chewing, vitality seeps back gradually, akin to a lantern wick being adjusted brighter bit by bit. Vapors lift from mugs and dishes, misting the chill briefly before fading. Your thoughts drift to the previous evening, pondering your sleeping arrangement, the successes and failures. Such contemplation is a daily ritual along the path. Every evening teaches something for the morning that follows. Historians generally agree that thriving on the overland routes hinged on flexibility. Those households that swiftly modified their daily patterns usually outlasted ones stuck in outdated customs. You've decided to bolster your evening insulation somehow, even at the cost of other comforts. The vehicles themselves show signs of these frigid evenings. Timber shrinks and splits. Metal hardware cracks with abrupt, piercing noises that startle the whole group. Fixes happen under the dawn glow, with hands frozen and implements icy against the skin. You observe a person securing a fastener, their exhales visible clouds with every push. The chill makes every task drag on. Yet, amid the hardship, a peculiar peace settles into the habits. The darkness has lifted. You're still among the living. That basic reality offers solace. Experts continue to debate if the mental toughness of these traveling clans mattered as much as their gear and supplies, though scenes like these imply the spirit's influence was greater than once thought. The weather stays unyielding, but your response to it can shift. When the dawn finally crests the skyline, its rays wash over the settlement, faint yet hopeful. Heat lags behind, but visibility sharpens. Ice glimmers on the earth, transforming plain soil into a fleeting wonder. You halt briefly to absorb it. These tiny instances serve as tethers, holding firm during the tougher stretches. The stowing away starts leisurely. Covers are snapped free of their icy crust. Sleeping bundles get coiled neatly, each crease routine. Your spine protests as you hoist and haul, yet activity eases it. It invariably does. Circulation stirs, limbs ease up, and the frost pulls back a bit. Reluctantly, you realize dusk will arrive once more, bringing fresh challenges. But right now, there's progress, direction, and the vast route stretching out. You hoist yourself onto the conveyance again, finding your spot, pondering how you'll confront the gloom when it reappears. Not with assurance precisely, but with know-how. And you're discovering that's the key to how these pioneer groups endured the harshest evenings. Lesson by uneasy lesson. As the hours unfold, the chill from the prior night lingers. It nestles into your sinews and bones. A nudge that obscurity will creep back, prepared or otherwise. The cart trundles along evenly, its wheels creaking in a cadence that lulls the mind. At intervals you eye the tarp above, worn and sparse, aware it'll soon shield you once more. Such fabric offers an odd sort of shelter. It wards off sunlight adequately and repels much of the downpour, but frost seeps past uninvited. A standard historical note is that these coverings consisted of sturdy cotton or linen coated in oil or wax against moisture, never meant for retaining heat. That reality hits home whenever a gust sneaks in, grazing your cheeks like the barrier isn't even present. Come mid-afternoon, the atmosphere bites harder. You detect it prior to noticing. Shades stretch out, illumination weakens to a ghostly hue, and breezes stir impatiently. You start getting ready ahead of time, wiser now about delaying. Whatever requires attention before twilight has to occur promptly. Dusk along the route arrives abruptly. It plunges. You collect essentials. Spare garments get stacked and reserved. Bedding gets jostled and inspected for wetness, preserved arid no matter what. Even a hint of damp material turns risky as the mercury plunges. You recall a traveler noting how dampness robs body heat quicker than nearly any other factor. And it rings true. An odd yet thoroughly recorded custom in certain pioneer groups was applying a light coat of beast grease to bare areas prior to rest. It seems off-putting, and it is, but it warded off drafts and held in heat. You waver, then apply it regardless, grimacing at the odor. In this wilderness, pride takes a back seat. When halting for evening, the positioning of the carts counts more than fresh arrivals' grasp. You orient yours with the wider flank toward the dominant gusts, letting the structure block like a wall. Fellow travelers follow suit, creating an uneven bulwark encircling the site. This setup isn't for guarding against threats human. It's for battling the elements. Debates persist among experts on whether these setups truly boosted evening coziness, but their prevalence hints at providing some illusion of command. The blaze gets kindled soon, ahead of fingers locking up and tempers fraying. Fire dances vigorously at the outset, then steadies to a reliable glow. You prepare the meal while feasible, aware the heat won't endure. The evening meal gets devoured in haste, dishes hugged near torsos, digits grip utensils firmly. Vapor ascends and dissolves into the twilight. As brightness wanes, the mercury plummets swiftly. The blaze's glow confines itself, taunting in its isolation. Move just a couple of steps away, and the fire's glow disappears entirely. You etch that sensation into your mind, the unseen line dividing warmth from chill, knowing you'll step across it shortly. When the moment arrives to bed down, you approach it deliberately. You pad the wagon's bottom with whatever's on hand. Extra bags, bundled outfits. The goal is to avoid direct contact with the rough planks. You've come to realize the earth hungers for your body heat, and you're determined not to surrender it without a fight. You ease into the confined area amid the scrape of footwear and the shuffle of fellow travelers squeezing in. Overhead, the cover flaps gently, already stirring in the evening gusts. You recline, gaze fixed upward, attuned to every noise. The evening sharpens them all, breeze rustling through the prairie, a far-off yip that might be a prairie wolf or merely fancy. The vehicle sways faintly as the chill contracts the wood. Yet amid the hardships, these instances carry an odd closeness. The huddled forms, the collective breaths, the silent acknowledgement that each person is scraping by with scant resources. Historians continue to argue over whether such trials truly forge tighter kinships, but a quiet resolve takes root in you, transcending mere grit. Rest arrives in fits and starts. You rouse briefly, your exhales forming soft clouds in the dimness. Eventually, flakes start drifting down, pattering softly on the tarp. It seems almost kind, though you're wise to its tricks. Fresh snow heralds deeper freezes come dawn. You draw your collar higher, drawing cloth tighter across your features. Your mind eases into haze. The wagon sways as the gusts shift course. You let that rhythm lull you, drifting just beyond the ache into uneasy slumber. This isn't ease, it's adaptation. It's mastering survival within constraints. As shadows lengthen, a key insight dawns. The shelter overhead wasn't designed for total protection. It offered merely an opening. How you seize that opening shapes the dawn's arrival. This dusk descends with less bite, yet you remain wary. The trail has already instilled wariness in you. The heavens fade to subdued hues, and the air stills enough to seem false. You wrap up the final chores with measured intent, mindful that tonight's attire could outweigh the evening meal in importance. On this journey, garb isn't mere covering, it's framework, it's shielding. At times, it's the soul's shield against endless, icy hours. You dress methodically, selecting pieces not for feel or looks, but for their capacity to hold in warmth. Fleece hugs your skin first, irritating yet reliable. Then follows flannel, finally the thicker shells, rigid from grime and wear. You sense the accumulating bulk, how your steps turn ponderous as you fortify yourself. Folks back then grasped this without guidance. Diaries from the era reveal how pioneers leaned on woolen wear, prized for clinging to heat even when soaked, surpassing other options of their day. You grasp that savvy now, yanking cuffs over hands, securing hems against any bare flesh. A soft chuckle rises from a neighbor struggling with an added wrap. It's fleeting, yet it bolsters. Levity persists in these parts, however sparse. It sustains. You wind a wrap around your throat, recalling the heat lost there. No lesson plan drilled that in. It came from too many frigid awakenings. An obscure habit some households took up was donning the next day's outfit for sleep, down to the coats. It made dozing clumsy and fabrics rigid, but it preserved vital minutes and heat at first light. You mimic that ritual, easing into your stack with a weary sigh. This prioritizes practicality over grace. In the process, you note the varied strategies around you. Some heap on every scrap available. Others opt for slimmer stacks, banking on communal covers and nearness. Survivor logs indicate no universal fix-all. Success hinged on flexibility, spotting what fell short and tweaking it for the following eve. Once full night cloaks the land, its weight feels more oppressive. The atmosphere closes in. You board the wagon with deliberate care, guarding the equilibrium of your bundled form. Lowering yourself spikes chill up your limbs where the timber meets you. You clench your jaw, then reposition until the sharpness fades. Within, the aroma of fleece and hide envelops you, not off-putting, merely ingrained. You stretch out, tweaking necklines and hems to prevent shifts. Your hands move clumsily now, stiffer than before. Nocturnal noises converge, gusts sifting prairie, tarp groaning quietly. In the distance, one beast's cry pierces the blackness, then vanishes. You inhale steadily, sensing the wrappings seal heat against you. It lacks true snugness, but it'll serve. Scholars today still argue over whether piling on clothes by itself could stave off severe chilling on the harshest evenings, or if it just postponed the worst without proper cover. Curled up like this, you figure the real answer hinges on the weather that evening, the gusts blowing, the hardness of the earth beneath, and a dash of fortune. You slide your hands into your armpits, a trick you've picked up that's far superior to any mittens. Your legs bend a bit toward your chest, holding in the heat. It's no perfect pose for dozing off, but it shields your vital parts. Slumber arrives in tentative pulses, light yet steady. Eventually, you rouse yourself to tweak your setup once more. One cuff has slipped upward. Icy gusts invade at once, biting and intrusive. You tug it back into place swiftly, your pulse quickening briefly. Tiny openings hit hard when the rest is all buttoned up. Hours drag on, moments melting together. You concentrate on your inhales, the soft press of cloth, the reality that tonight feels less frigid than last. That's no small thing. Out here, advancement comes in tiny steps, fewer tremors, extended spells of ease. Right as the sky lightens, the chill bites deeper, like it's staking one last claim. You bear it in silence, aware of what's ahead. Brightness, motion, flames crackling, heat creeping back deliberately, inevitably, though not without effort. Come full daybreak, you unwind from the wrappings, joints protesting from the strain. Everything hurts, yet it all still works. That's triumph enough. You scan the group, everyone swaddled and worn out just like you, and a core insight clicks. Enduring the freeze isn't conquering nature. It's crafting a tenuous pocket of heat around your frame and shepherding it through each dark stretch unbroken. By the following dusk, as shadows lengthen, you've grasped a notion that would have stunned you at the trip's outset. On this path, staying warm seldom happens solo. It's a group effort, forged wordlessly via nearness and common ground. As the sun dips low, folks edge toward one another without a word. Vehicles nudge in tighter, figures instinctively grouping up. The temperature drops fast after sunset, hitting your skin up front. Your face draws taut, nostrils prickling. You hike your scarf and survey the scene, sizing up the best spot to join for the night. These choices go unspoken. They happen organically, driven by gut feel and sheer need. Tales from the pioneer routes often highlight how kin huddled in dense bunches, even sandwiching kids amid grown-ups like human barriers. It might seem rough, but it got the job done. Little ones gained from the collective glow, while elders tolerated the squeeze as the deal. That rings true as you nestle in now, side to side with someone, legs grazing, your once sturdy build softened by endless miles. Oddly, the snugness brings solace. Rhythms of breath nearby, even and toasty, draw you in. The faint ups and downs lull your own lungs into sync. easing slower. This isn't the closeness you'd know back east. It's raw teamwork at its base. A quirky note in scattered journals talks of clans sorting by build and inner fire, stationing the hottest on the fringes. Nothing official, just fumbling experiments, spotting trends. You bet they've clocked your own vibe, landing you central this time, cocooned in communal covers carrying hints of campfire and grit. The cart groans faintly as folks reposition, tarp fluttering above. Beyond, the blaze has faded to glowing coals, its heat now just a fading echo. You draw the cover up, sensing how stacked cloths capture pockets of still air. Shared like this, it performs stronger. You sense the difference. Experts clash on if pooling body warmth truly cut down on frostbite episodes under cover of night, or merely soften the bite without altering fates. Stretched out here, stats on endurance escape you, but feelings don't. You're less shivery than solo. Dozing hits in fits and starts. A neighbor turns. A young one fusses briefly, then quiets. You fight the impulse to fidget much, aware that stirring could invite the freeze to flood back. Endurance wraps around you like another fold. Thoughts wander in that liminal haze, dozing yet alert. You ponder the hush of this huddle, the scarcity of chatter. In these wilds, heat speaks via deeds, not comforts. A cover adjusted upward, a form tilted nearer, tiny moves that carry the weight in shadows. Then the breeze strengthens, shaking the tarp and probing your haven's seams. You sense the frost-seeking cracks, where seams part or throws slip. Without thinking, you lean in tighter, patching the gap anew. It plays like group effort, though consciousness floats low. Time drags on, yet tonight it doesn't seem quite so interminable. The steady cadence of breaths surrounding you forms a shared resolve that propels the group ahead. You're not truly toasty, but there's a sense of enclosure, a safeguard that's come from collective effort. Dawn creeps in at last, faint and hesitant, rousing you amid a jumble of coverings and bodies. Sure, there's rigidity in your joints and the persistent throb from huddling all evening. Still, a wave of ease settles in. You've all navigated it side by side. As folks untangle, muffled chuckles emerge, weary and gentle. One person tosses out a light-hearted quip about foregoing solitary nights forever. You grin while easing your sore limbs. It dawns on you that outlasting the harshest evenings isn't solely about supplies or shelters. It's about knowing when to draw nearer, when to divide the room, and when to welcome aid unspoken. On this journey, heat isn't possessed. It's loaned, divided, and handed on through intimate evenings like this. By the moment you're pondering tomorrow's chill, the blaze has dwindled noticeably. The flames flicker faintly now, their vigor vanished, supplanted by a slender ribbon of embers that vow solace they'll never quite provide. You huddle near it as long as possible, palms outstretched and stinging. The fleeting return of heat stings with its swift departure once you withdraw. In this wilderness, the blaze deceives the senses. It appears mighty, crackles with vitality, but as night fully descends, its limited span becomes starkly evident. Trail journals reveal that few pioneer households could sustain flames through the dark hours. Wood was far too scarce, and lone fires posed grave dangers. The blaze served to prepare meals, to parch dampness, to offer fleeting assurance. It was never intended as an all-night sentinel. You observe the remnants of the evening meal being polished off, the vessel scoured bare. The group dawdles by the glow beyond what's needed, loath to yield it. At length, a hand stirs the embers level, dispersing them to smolder without peril. Wisps of smoke spiral skyward, bearing that telltale aroma destined to linger on your garments once more. A subtle custom noted in obscure trail chronicles emerges among certain groups. Some households warmed rocks by the flames ere retiring, bundling them in fabric and positioning them by extremities within the conveyance. It carried risks. Overly scorching meant potential injury. Too tepid rendered it pointless. You weigh the idea briefly before dismissing it for this evening. Past mishaps have instilled wariness toward remedies that might betray you in slumber. With the fire extinguishing, the frost surges forward, avid and abrupt. It occupies the void left by the heat, seizing it unchallenged. You sense it nipping at your cheeks, keen and unrelenting. Your respiration deepens less, turns more restrained. Each breath missed slightly before you. You ascend into the wagon, already yearning for the false comfort of the flames. Within, obscurity thickens, as though the blaze had illuminated more than you'd noted. You arrange yourself in your spot, attuned to the subdued movements of companions mirroring you. The vehicle sways faintly under redistributed loads before stabilizing. The chill asserts itself promptly. It slinks across the planks, climbs your calves, bears in on your flanks. You draw your coverings snug, securing hems with precision. You've honed this skill through trial. Enclose the openings, guard the center, endure the fringes. Historians debate the extent to which reliance on evening blazes dictated bedtime habits versus the ways kin adjusted to their certain fade. Here in the hush, you reckon the truth straightforward. The fire ignited the evening, but not the remedy. All that truly counted unfolded in its wake. Slumber comes in fragments. You nod off, rouse, then slip away anew. The frost hones your vigilance, holding you near wakefulness. Noises resonate louder, a branch settling in the ashes, a mount's gentle whinny, gusts grazing the tarp with delicate strokes. Eventually, a profound stillness pulls you alert. The fire has perished entirely. No snap, no radiance, merely shadow and frost coexisting. You quash the impulse to rise, aware it'd squander more heat than it yields. Rather, you turn inward, hugging limbs nearer, coiling a touch more compactly. Your mind eases. The unease fades to mere murmur, no longer an adversary. You've acquired this unwittingly, the knack for circumventing the cold outright, permitting its presence without yielding your focus entirely. In the night's deepest freeze, moments shy of daybreak, the atmosphere turns nearly fragile. You perceive the chill intensifying, motionless as you are. Here, the blaze's void cuts deepest. Nevertheless, you persist, as do the others. When the initial gleam brushes the canvas, a quiet gratitude suffuses you, understated yet profound. The darkness demanded no triumph, merely outlasting. Soon, the fire reignites, bringing back a gradual and uneven heat. You rise cautiously, your joints aching, your breath forming faint clouds in the chill. Beyond the wagon's side, another traveler is already tending to fresh embers, coaxing them into brighter life as tendrils of smoke curl upward, hinting at relief to come. You bundle your coverings closer while you bide your time, realizing that flames aren't your ultimate rescuer, just one practical aid among several, and certainly not the kind that endures forever. As darkness deepens to its peak, the final glow vanishes even as you're still pressing onward. This evening, you don't hold off on thoughts of eating until shadow fully claims the sky. Hard-won knowledge warns against late preparations. Dexterity slips away all too soon, and tolerance for the task evaporates faster still. You halt while a sliver of hue lingers in the heavens, while your fingers remain responsive to your commands. The evening meal is straightforward and methodical, orchestrated for efficiency and warmth above all. The pot goes over the blaze, its ingredients selected for rapid heating over any flare in flavor. Such habits were standard on these routes. Pioneers quickly discovered that consuming warm food promptly allowed the body to hold on to heat deeper into the evening, particularly as the atmosphere sharpened post-dusk. You huddle near the glow, stirring with measured motions. The aroma emerges, comforting and steady. Hints of oil and starch, mingled with wood smoke and metal. You inhale deeply, allowing it to steady your nerves. Nearby, fellow wayfarers mirror your actions, gathering in the modest radius of firelight. Words are sparse yet cordial. There's solace in this collective habit. A companion nearby retrieves a compact, oil-rich parcel from their stores, unwrapping a thick, fatty biscuit hoarded for frigid evenings. It appears plain, but they divide it thoughtfully, offering shares. These energy-dense provisions were typically set aside for such nights when mere existence against the chill demanded extra fuel. You take your portion, masticating deliberately, sensing the heat diffuse as it descends. A few pioneer diaries mention clans intentionally favoring richer fats after dark, despite scant supplies. It seemed odd to outsiders, yet practitioners vouched for its value. You grasp the reason clearly now. The satisfaction endures, providing a subtle internal glow you take with you. With vessels cleared, the blaze receives its final tending, just sufficient to wrap things up. Nobody dawdles beyond what's required. The frost is already encroaching from the fringes, probing determination. You withdraw, swaddling yourself more snugly, mindful that this coziness won't last. Within the wagon, you arrange yourself promptly. No dawdling, no extra shifts. The prior repast weighs solidly, yet reassuringly, like a ballast. You sense its gradual effect, not true warmth precisely, but a reserve for your frame to tap. Scholars debate the weight of evening sustenance in outlasting harsh cold versus protections like coverings or garb, though numerous personal records highlight meal's contribution to weathering wintry darks. Here in repose, you reckon it's no isolated element. It's the cumulative buildup. Slumber arrives more readily this time, initially at least. Your belly is sated, your limbs weary. The chill still seeps in at the borders, yet it seems milder. You rouse once, then again, tweaking your bedding and repositioning minutely. Each return to ease happens swifter than the last. Beyond, the breeze remains subdued, a constant companion more than a foe. The tarp undulates softly above. The conveyance appears to sync with your breath in gentle, known creaks. You attune to those patterns, permitting them to lure you back to repose. Midway through the dark hours, aridity in your mouth stirs you, your gullet constricted by the frigid draft. You moisten and ease, recalling that unease isn't invariably peril. Another insight absorbed soundlessly, sans fanfare. Come dawn, the shift registers. Rigidity and iciness persist, but exhaustion has ebbed. The hours extracted less toll. Upon rising, vertigo avoids you. Frailty lacks its bite. This registers as vital while you emerge into the wan morning glow, exhalations clouding anew. You look over your shoulder at the wagon. Reflections arise on how modest choices, timing the meal, selecting apt provisions, echo through the hours in unforeseen manners. In this expanse, enduring demands no grand feats. It's the art of supping at the right juncture, preserving suitable edibles, and relying on subdued pre-twilight choices to sustain you till daybreak. Once settled into the routine anew, the trail's odors have grown as intimate as companions. They adhere to you, embedded in cloth and locks, penetrating so profoundly that rest fails to dispel them. Wood smoke clings first as acrid and arid, evolving to a cozy, faintly tangy woolen note. Underneath pulses lard, beast tallow worked into hides and flesh, locking in heat through sensations subtler than sight. You observe how aroma integrates into persistence. No one voices it, yet it counts. Potent fragrances signal that barriers function well. Fumes repel pests. Tallow repels gusts. Wool ensnares breezes. Those odors that once turned your stomach now serve as a barrier against the biting chill. Historical diaries from the trail frequently mention outfits rigid with soot and grease-soaked attire that no one back east would endure. In this harsh environment, such items were treasured. Folks soon discovered that spotless garments let in more cold. You abandon any longing for cleanliness and embrace practicality above all. As darkness falls, you make a subtle adjustment, sensing your own warmth gradually accumulating within the insulating folds. The faint buildup is there, undeniable. The smoky aroma embedded in the cloth now strikes you as oddly soothing, a reminder that a fire burned nearby not long before. You inhale it deeply, feeling a sense of steady reassurance. Nearby, a person unclips a tiny sack, letting a denser fragrance waft through the air, rendered fat. It's heavy and mildly sugary, off-putting under normal circumstances. They smear some onto chapped palms, then along the edges of their mittens. This peculiar habit crops up in various eyewitness accounts, though not everyone adopted it. It sealed out gusts and prevented flesh from cracking amid the freezing strain. You observe for a moment, then mimic the action, wincing as you massage it in. The wagon creaks under the redistribution of weight. Beyond the cover, everything has fallen into profound hush, the kind only frigid evenings can summon. Even the breeze holds back, tentative. You strain your ears, realizing the quiet out here weighs more than any noise. Each inhale echoes prominently. Scholars debate today whether these accumulated scents and applications truly boosted insulation or just provided mental solace. The data supports both views, but from your spot, it makes little difference. Your fingers loosen up. Your features feel more shielded. Ease, whether real or in the mind, still eases tension in the muscles. Slumber approaches bit by bit. You float toward it, mindful of the cart's solid frame below and the aroma-laden atmosphere enclosing you. The fragrances ground you somehow, drawing your focus from the frost nipping at the tenting. You rouse momentarily as the vehicle sways, then sink back, burying your face further into the material. Eventually, you notice your respirations have slowed to a rhythmic pace. This change is fresh. Prior evenings brought fitful tossing, quick gasps, and endless fidgeting. This time, an alteration has taken hold. The odors, the wrappings, the habits, they've merged into a protective barrier. The darkness intensifies. The chill intensifies too, as it invariably does pre-sunrise, yet it doesn't pierce as sharply. You reposition once with caution, then hold still. A tentative faith in your arrangement emerges, delicate yet genuine. Upon stirring next, the light filtering through the canopy suggests dawn's approach. The fire's tang lingers on your skin, now blended with icy mist and moisture. You extend your limbs a touch, registering rigidity, but not outright misery. Rising, you see others stirring with similar subdued assurance. No frenzy, no hasty flailing, just the deliberate routines of those who figured out what suffices. You venture out, your exhalations forming ghostly vapors. Hoarfrost blankets the landscape, glinting momentarily before sunlight reaches it. The scents trail after you, dispersing into the vastness. You grasp that they're as integral to you now as the trail dust caking your footwear or the soreness in your back. In this wild expanse, staying alive doesn't carry a fresh scent. It carries the tang of campfire residue, lubricant, and sheep's wool. It reeks of perseverance. And with the morning unfolding, you see these once repulsive aromas as markers of your growing skill at outlasting the dark. You cease viewing rest as a gentle embrace. Here, rest is a bargain struck with the frost. That bargain kicks off the instant you choose to remain clothed. The notion of shedding layers seems reckless now, akin to abandoning cover merely to demonstrate boldness. Thus, you remain bundled, secured by cloth and custom alike. Life on the path instilled this lesson swiftly. Travelers grasped that doffing attire after dark drained heat faster than it gained ease. Day-old blouses remained buttoned, pants as well. Coats, too, were drawn nearer instead of discarded. At first, it feels cumbersome, limbs hampered, material clumping in uneasy spots. Yet clumsiness beats trembling. You lower yourself gingerly, probing the planks underfoot. Each motion stirs a draft from below. You combat it by cinching sleeves snug, raising necklines, encasing yourself in your own apparel. As the weave heats up, whiffs of perspiration and cinders emerge. Unappealing, sure, but bolstering. A companion grumbles softly about resembling a wrapped parcel more than a human. A weary laugh escapes, fleeting yet enduring. Wit persists out here, slender and tenacious. You rearrange once more, settling into a stance that safeguards your torso at the expense of ease elsewhere. Legs bent close, head lowered, limbs folded securely. A noteworthy anecdote recurs in multiple trail journals. Certain pioneers dozed with footwear laced, not solely for insulation, but to avoid iced boots at daybreak that might stall the journey or lacerate feet if yanked on hastily. Tonight, you experiment with keeping your boots loosely fastened yet still on, your feet feeling cumbersome and unwieldy. Rest initially seems elusive, yet common sense prevails in the end. As the shadows thicken, you notice the group's activity winding down to near stillness, gestures kept to a minimum. Even exhalations appear subdued, as though deeper ones could squander precious body heat. The wagon falls into a hush, interrupted solely by the subtle groan of timber shrinking against the chill. Contemporary experts remain divided on the true impact of bedding down in full attire. Did it truly lower instances of frostbite, or merely ease the ordeal without altering the results? Personal journals, however, circle back to this habit persistently. Such insistence speaks volumes on its own. You slip into a shallow slumber, only to stir and resettle repeatedly. With each tweak, a sleeve hem, a neckline, a cover's fold, the frost relentlessly seeks out any openings. Over time, you master sealing them subconsciously, a knack acquired through hardship rather than instruction. Beyond the walls, the evening remains unyielding, No gusts, only an intense chill bearing down oppressively. The tarp above stiffens, nearly fragile to the touch. You picture ice crystals blooming across its exterior, rendering the shelter taut and inflexible within. Your exhales mist briefly before vanishing. Midway through the hours of darkness, a thigh muscle seizes in mild rebellion against the cramped pose. You endure it steadily, avoiding any sudden shifts that might bear flesh to the air. Every motion exacts a toll in lost insulation. You hold out until the twinge subsides, then recompose yourself. Forbearance emerges as yet another vital asset, unobtrusive, yet indispensable. Morning arrives without fanfare, its glow infiltrating gradually, diluting the gloom instead of scattering it outright. You rouse with the usual rigidity, spared the profound soreness from harsher evenings past. A subtle advancement. Rising gingerly, your footwear taps lightly on the planks. Nearby, companions mirror the motion, extricating themselves from bundled forms and postures dictated by survival. Exhaustion etches every face, but resolve lingers unbroken. Venturing out, you extend your limbs deliberately, coaxing circulation back to chilled extremities. The atmosphere nips sharply, though the rising orb hints at eventual thaw. Looking over your shoulder at the disheveled bedding and piled garments, you reflect. Attire for repose didn't simplify the vigil, it rendered it feasible. In this harsh expanse, feasibility often separates persistence from collapse. The tiniest figures trouble you above all. Come dusk, your gaze strays repeatedly to the youngsters, despite efforts to feign indifference. Fatigue claims them first. Tremors grip them quickest. Their fingers numb while others remain supple. You observe discreetly as they're methodically clad, extra wrappings applied with precision, cuffs pulled low, wraps repositioned multiple times. Haste has no place here. A collective awareness binds the grown-ups. Twilight exacts a steeper price from the vulnerable. Slighter builds dissipate warmth more rapidly. Skeletal frames absorb the bite with greater intensity. It's evident in how guardians hover, inspecting digits, massaging palms under the guise of casual proximity. As obscurity builds, the young are situated with intent, not by status or fondness, but for optimal insulation. Sturdier bodies form the perimeter barriers. The kids nestle centrally, where residual heat pools and stirrings stay confined. This unfolds wordlessly, honed by habit over edict. You edge over instinctively to create room, unprompted. Historical records from the path abound with echoes of juveniles cocooned in stacked fabrics and communal covers, occasionally buffered by grown forms against errant currents. Far from mere tenderness, it was calculated necessity. That rationale takes root as a little form leans gently into your torso, their respirations light yet rhythmic. A cap eases over a drowsy crown. A further fold secures around slender arms. These gestures unfold tenderly and soundlessly amid the blackness, sparing the rest from disturbance. Midnight spares no errors, least of all for the frail. One anecdote from earlier travels sticks with you, unusual yet striking. A household vouched for positioning heated maize pouches by young feet at lights out. Briefly warmed at the flames and bound snugly. It never caught wide appeal, dismissed by some as silly. Even so, you spot an adaptation attempted this time, with tentative palms verifying the heat repeatedly prior to placement. Within the enclosure, the atmosphere thickens with size and textiles. You sense insulation accumulating gradually, patchily. The little ones succumb to repose swifter than their elders, weariness eclipsing any unease. Their rest appears more profound, fewer disruptions. You resent that innocence while staying vigilant, one ear tuned to shifts in rhythms, the other marking time to daybreak. Regardless, the freeze infiltrates. It invariably does. You register its nudge from below and above, methodical and unrelenting. Yet this evening, it encounters opposition, multiple layers of clothing, huddled forms, and collective body heat creating a tenuous shield. Historians offer varied views on whether sheer coldness alone ended the lives of young travelers on the trail more frequently than sickness, particularly when chilly evenings sapped strength from those already vulnerable. The records lack consistency. Certain nights concluded peacefully, while others turned turbulent. Such thoughts don't occupy your mind right now. Instead, you concentrate on the immediate, on the coziness preserved over potential dangers. Even one of the youngsters shifts, mumbles an unclear word, and then quiets once more. You stay motionless, your breaths light, allowing the heat to accumulate anew. Your limb has lost sensation where it rests against someone else, yet you leave it be. Tolerating the ache proves simpler than risking the chill. Time drags on in this manner. The wagon groans faintly. Gusts build and then subside. Eventually, flakes of snow graze the fabric once more, subtle yet unrelenting. You tug the covering upward, closing off yet another breach. The kid next to you lets out a soft sigh during slumber. As the night's deepest chill approaches right before daybreak, a subtle relaxation spreads through you. The group has achieved some equilibrium. He doesn't slip away as swiftly now. The vehicle starts to resemble a communal haven more than a mere refuge, delicate yet operational. When the first hints of light pierce the gloom, you rouse yourself, rigid and aching, but vigilant. The young ones awaken last, their eyes fluttering open drowsily, faces rosy from the shared glow instead of frost. That strikes you as a subtle triumph. The day's rituals commence unhurriedly. Palms are examined, digits stretched, soles pounded briefly, and footwear secured. An individual hands over a heated beverage, steadying a tiny vessel with care. Vapor ascends, bringing a sense of comfort along. You observe the children come alive completely, wiping at their faces, swiftly captivated by the prospect of motion and sunshine. They'll forget the unease far sooner than the grown-ups will. That realization offers a modest comfort. With the encampment stirring anew, an insight dawns on you, one that wasn't apparent when the trip began. Enduring the harshest evenings involves more than safeguarding your own well-being. It's about shielding those still learning to cope at a slower pace. The decisions you render, the room you provide, the heat you distribute, they echo beyond the moment. In this vast expanse, perseverance seldom stands alone. It's gauged by those who rise refreshed enough to grin, and those who stride into the dawn prepared to press onward. The breeze heralds its arrival well ahead of any glimpse. Ages before shadows lengthen, its murmur travels over the plains, bending the prairie, murmuring steadily and softly, like a living entity full of interest. As daylight fades, what began as a gentle current has intensified into an undeniable force. The wind alters all. Stagnant, icy air poses one challenge. Moving icy air presents a far greater one. It nips at your features initially, then tugs at your cuffs, probing fastenings and borders. It appears intent on exploiting vulnerabilities, infiltrating whatever space remains exposed. You pivot your frame a bit while tending to tasks, on reflex, positioning yourself to deflect it, as though mere alignment could suffice. Pioneers soon grasped that gusts often proved more formidable than the dropping mercury. A still evening might seem bearable despite the sharpness in the atmosphere, but breezes robbed insulation rapidly and ruthlessly. You're aware of that contrast presently, with the blaze wavering and bending, its tongue stretching horizontally, dissipating energy rather than channeling it upward. During the evening setup of vehicles, your scrutiny sharpens compared to prior times. They're arranged deliberately, not haphazardly. Wide flanks confront the drafts head-on. Slimmer sections shelter in the lee of neighbors where feasible. Openings get filled. The arrangement may appear chaotic at a glance, yet method governs it. You lend a hand in nudging a single wheel a touch, sufficient to alter the impact of the blasts on the covering. You recall a peculiar practice from earlier stages of the voyage. A fellow always fastened extra rags to his canopy's borders, dangling them freely like tassels. In blustery conditions, they danced and disrupted the currents, lessening the force battering the material. It struck you as silly initially. This night, the wisdom clicks. Nearby, another has adopted it, securing scraps of cloth to a join. They rustle gently, but the fabric sways far less. Within the conveyance, the gale's voice turns perpetual. Silence eludes you. It drones, clatters, exhales, occasionally surging as though surprised. The racket maintains a vigilant edge, thwarting full repose even as exhaustion tugs. You draw the covering snugger, securing borders with precision. Breezes infiltrate fissures more swiftly than stillness-bound frost ever could. Contemporary analyses differ on the extent to which gusts factored into evening fatalities relative to plain hypothermia. Certain documents highlight tempests. Others gloss over them entirely. The reality appears fragmented through narratives, influenced by terrain, season, and plain luck. Your understanding cuts cleaner, gusts complicate every aspect. Repose remains shallow this evening. You nod off in brief intervals, only to resurface when a blast whips the cover or jostles the cart a fraction. Every instance jolts your pulse for a moment before it steadies. You start tuning your ears more keenly, separating routine shifts from anything requiring a closer look. Once a noise drifts on the breeze that sets you on edge, a drawn-out rasp followed by silence. You freeze, scarcely breathing, alert for what comes next. In time, it dawns on you that it's just a plank easing loose in the vicinity. The easing tension is subtle, yet profound. When the draft sneaks in, the chill bites more fiercely, infiltrating spots that once seemed shielded, grazing your face, slipping past cuffs, and nipping at your feet. You fight back by drawing into a tighter ball, drawing coverings closer. Your form turns snug and practical now, molded by pure need. As darkness thickens, the gale starts to wane at last. Bursts grow farther apart. The relentless push fades to sporadic nudges. You sense the shift right away. Rest arrives more readily with the atmosphere calming, despite no warmth returning to the air. When first light nears, the surroundings seem more serene. The cart settles without so much jolting. The frost lingers, but it's tamed, not invading. You ease your limbs a bit, mindful of preserving the heat you've gathered. Daybreak shows the night's toll. Ice coats the exposed face of the cart densely, thicker on that side than others. The tarp's borders stand rigid, edged in frost. You trace it with a mittened palm, sensing the unyielding layer. As the group stirs, folks murmur about the gale, swapping tales of tweaks that succeeded or fell short. Bragging has no place here. Enduring is just observed and left behind. You glance once more at the cart's layout before hoisting yourself up again. This setup will stick in your mind for this evening and the one after, with changes as the situation demands. Along the path, the breeze isn't mere scenery. It's a dynamic element dictating your halts, your slumber, and the energy the dark hours drain. Mastering reverence over resistance joins the toolkit you build onward through the trek. Snowfall doesn't creep in as gently as anticipated. Before the flakes touch you, you feel the shift in the atmosphere. Noises muffle, horizons contract, the gusts hush, like the landscape is pausing. When the initial crystals graze your arm, dusk is descending fast. Flurries on the route aren't serene. They're labor in disguise, poised to unfold. You observe them piling on the tarp, sparse initially, then thickening, weighing the material down enough to notice within. The cart's top creaks faintly, adapting to the load. You remind yourself to inspect it soon, aware a minor dip might spell issues come sunrise. Folks grasped quickly how whiteouts altered evening rhythms. The freeze altered too, less raw in the breeze, but far more insistent elsewhere. Powder deadens echoes, leaving an uncanny hush. Yet it also holds dampness, seeping into joints and borders if ignored. You sweep the cover from beneath with a deliberate touch, dislodging bits before they mount. Out there, an individual paces the caravan, prodding the tops with a rod to dislodge building layers. It's a standard ritual, performed sans gripe. Neglected, such mass might warp cloth, slacken ties, or topple improvised braces. Modest actions today avert bigger woes tomorrow. Tonight brings a peculiar habit into view, one you've glimpsed rarely. A fellow deliberately molds powder at his cart's foundation, forming a shallow barrier against the underboards. It seems backward at first, but you recall tales of how packed ice seals drafts from below. You mimic it, gathering and tamping till a slim barrier rises. Your mitts dampen fast, digits numbing soon after, yet the task seems rewarding deep down. The patter of falling snow turns steady, a gentle, unrelenting rhythm that weaves into your mind. It borders on comforting, if you allow it. You nestle down, securing quilts firmly, conscious of the pale load now atop the cover. Contemporary scholars can't settle on a unified view of whether whiteouts heightened or eased the perils of such nights. Certain records hail it as a boon, blanketing sights and damping blasts. Others depict it as the onset of hardship, drenching gear and hardening into peril by day. Here in the dim, you figure truth lies in both, hinging on your readiness. Repose arrives in soft surges this evening. The blanket smothers abrupt sounds, blunting the night's sharpness. Interruptions dwindle, and when they occur, the chill seems profounder, weightier. It seeps in gradually, not lashing out. Midway, a muffled drop echoes as a mass slips from the tarp to earth. You stiffen momentarily, then unwind. The frame endures. That minor comfort sustains you into the succeeding void. Your exhales cloud the cart's interior, hanging thicker and longer than before. Dampness begins to build, and you swipe it from your face with the scarf, wary of letting it linger. Snow means moisture, and moisture draws away body heat quicker than any other force. You pull your chin into your collar, exhaling steadily, though the cloth captures both warmth and wetness like a shroud. As the night hits its deepest chill, the snowfall eases and finally ceases. The quiet grows thicker. You stay alert for a bit, ears straining against the void. It's an odd sensation, as if time itself has paused. Dawn uncovers the night's changes. Everything beyond the wagon gleams anew, blanketed in pristine white that mutes the harsh edges. The vehicles seem shrunken, partially swallowed by drifts. Footprints have vanished, wiped clean. You climb out with caution, your boots yielding to the snow in a muffled crunch. Folks stir deliberately, sweeping powder from tarps and inspecting ties and edges. Your improvised barrier of snow has served well. The area under the wagon now seems more sheltered, less prone to biting winds. A subtle pride settles in you over that. As flames are nudged into reluctant sparks, vapor lifts from the thawing snow, infused with a sharp, earthy tang. The chill persists, yet it carries a new quality, tamer, almost routine. Fresh powder doesn't soften the path ahead, it merely redefines it. While you beat the stiffness from frosted quilts and gear up for the miles to come, the truth sinks in. Every type of evening calls for its unique tweaks. Mastering those shifts and adapting calmly turns into the rhythm of endurance. These days, the wagon isn't just one thing to you anymore. It's a patchwork of panels, joints, and hollows that either shield or sabotage when darkness falls. Come evening, your gaze shifts to idle items nearby, viewing them not as tools, but as barriers against the freeze. Waste isn't an option now. What was once a flour bag turns to cushioning. A stack of correspondence becomes a buffer. An worn notebook, poured over countless times, gets repurposed as a wedge under your side or back. You wavered just a second before committing it. Ink can bide its time. Heat demands priority. Those on this journey grasp fast that the wagon's base is the worst foe after sunset. The planks give no quarter, and the soil below soaks up warmth like a sponge. That lesson appears in the group's habits, as beds are assembled with the same precision as outfits for the trail. No words are needed. The bite of oversight lingers in memory for all. You hunker down, sorting your supplies. Empty bags go flat first, stretched across the boards. Next come layered clothes saved for daylight. You tamp them solid, aware that slim barriers can blunt the freeze. The routine has a rhythmic calm, like a quiet ritual, each item positioned deliberately. Close by, another traveler hauls in armfuls of dry straw, foraged during daylight hours. It rustles faintly as it's arranged, crisp yet effective. You've witnessed this trick earlier, brushing it off as last resort. This evening, it strikes as clever adaptation. The scent is subtle, arid, with a hint of soil, but no trace of wet. You sprinkle some in too, targeting the chilliest spots. Approaches differ among the group. Some stick to simple sleeping mats. Others construct bulky layers that complicate entry and exit. Outcomes fluctuate. Certain evenings honor the labor, others shrug it off. No universal recipe exists, just trends that emerge with experience. You ease into your spot, probing the feel below. It's altered this time around, not cozy, but far less unforgiving. That's enough. You draw covers close, enclosing your form, then halt to absorb the settling hush of the settlement. The noises are routine by now. The faint creak of timber contracting, the far-off rustle of livestock bedding down, a hushed voice wrapping up a lingering worry. Then quiet folds in, profound and still. You recline, tweaking your position once or twice. The underlay gives way gradually, conforming to your contours. Warmth gathers in the press of contact. Your breaths come regular, allowing your frame to generate its own defense undisturbed. Midway through the dark, you jolt awake, unclear of the cause. Briefly, the shadows seem alien. Then it clicks. Your side isn't throbbing as it often does. The frost hasn't pierced there yet. That minor victory stirs a soft contentment. Slumber reclaims you more smoothly now. You linger deeper in rest between stirrings. When awareness returns, it's for minor shifts rather than major fixes. A flap secured, a leg nudged a touch. Such motions drain far less vigor. Beyond the canvas, the evening stays mild. No gusts, no flurries, just a consistent chill bearing down. You pick up on the variance right away. Evenings such as these honor foresight. Harsher ones defy it no matter what. The gap between them imprints on you, blending caution with know-how. As first light nears, the freeze intensifies predictably. It seeps past your defenses gradually, purposefully, but muted, cushioned by the barriers between you and the dirt. You endure, respiring measured, outlasting it. Daybreak arrives plainly. Gray light seeps through the wagon's canvas cover. You ease into a stretch, probing your limbs with caution. There's some rigidity, sure, but the ache isn't as fierce as before. Rising up, you sense the padding underneath you compressed, yet intact. As you descend from the wagon, you spot fellow travelers performing their own silent evaluations. One person gives a single nod, satisfied with their arrangement. Another grumbles softly about requiring extra cushioning for the future. Nobody proclaims victory. Instead, they tweak preparations for the upcoming evening. You collect your improvised bedding, refolding and piling it neatly. The journal slips back into its spot, its edges now creased, its sheets bearing fresh significance. You absent-mindedly run a hand over it once more prior to tucking it away. The fire is nursed back to flames, and heat builds gradually. Your fingers warm up. Your breathing evens out. The earth snaps crisply with each step, a reminder of the chill that lurked below throughout the dark hours. While going through your daily start, you perceive a quiet transformation. The cold no longer hits you like an enemy. You've begun treating it like a fact of life, something to adapt to, incorporate, and manage. This shift doesn't simplify the evenings. It renders them endurable. And with the wagon creaking onward again, you're already eyeing the terrain up front. The weeds, the tossed-aside bits, the overlooked odds and ends. Not merely as landscape, but as potential shields for the next night's rest, ready to be recognized. The creatures along the trail alter the darkness in unexpected manners from when the trip first started. By daylight, their labor, hauling loads, bearing weight, dragging out the pace. Come nightfall, they transform completely into generators of noise, motion, and heat, detectable from nearby spots. As dusk falls, you observe how the vehicles instinctively edge nearer to the spots where livestock is secured. This isn't voiced aloud. It unfolds subtly, shaped by know-how. Horses paw the ground and fidget, exhaling rhythmic clouds into the frosty atmosphere. Oxen loom steadier, more serene, their forms emitting a steady, diffused glow that spreads gently. Trail folks soon figured out against bedding too distant from their beasts, particularly amid dropping temperatures. Past worries like straying or attacks, a straightforward motive existed. The collective body heat from the herd quietly altered the camp's atmosphere. It never bordered on cozy, but it dulled the night's bite. You settle in a place where you can detect that influence, not right next to them, yet near enough to register the variance. The atmosphere bites less here. The hoof-churned soil appears marginally less inclined to sap your heat. You inhale that blend of straw, beastly musk, and frozen dirt. It's far from agreeable, yet it's routine these days. One minor custom from earlier on the path clicks into place now. A certain household invariably camped leeward of their herd, even if it required repositioning the wagon after an exhausting stretch. Back then, it struck you as pointless. This evening, though, as the gust turns and a milder current brushes by, you grasp their rationale. Within the wagon, the livestock's noises settle into a pattern: sporadic whinnies, the faint jingle of gear, a hoof grazing iced soil. These sounds serve as reassurances alongside their disruptions. Quiet from that quarter would unsettle far more. Rest arrives laced with those auditory threads. You rouse momentarily at a horse's repositioning, then sink back as the cadence resumes. Your frame loosens deeper, assured by the proximity of activity. Vitality stirring and respiring, accompanying you through the hours. Not all trail chronicles highlight the beasts as assets on frigid evenings. Certain ones dwell on the filth, the odor, the racket, and the stray boot, or snarled lines in shadows. Some scarcely touch on them. Reality appears tied to the specific evening, the climate, and the animal's own dispositions. This one, they're aiding. You sense it through the frost's gentler push, the slower onset of numb toes. You draw your covering closer once, then let it be. The coziness lingers. Roughly halfway through the dark, the breeze veers once more, ushering in keener chill over the sight. The herd reacts first, shuffling and pivoting. The soft shield they offered reshapes, letting the freeze infiltrate. You register it right away, stirring enough to cinch coverings snugger or tilt your form a bit. Such ongoing tweaks feel standard now. Perfection proves fleeting. The path imparts adaptability over control. With daybreak nearing, the animals stir more. They detect the impending glow ahead of your eyes. Activity ramps up. Exhales thicken the mist. The subdued heat they lent all evening disperses as they move and extend. You come alert completely, limbs rigid yet workable. Beyond, ice rims the livestock's hides, sparkling momentarily under first rays. They shudder it off, scattering fine flecks aloft. You observe, strangely thankful. The day's chores kick off as ever. You inspect the ropes and tighten the straps. Moving deliberately through the animals, your fingers remain awkward from the chill, vapor ascending from their flanks, twisting skyward and dissipating warmth, though a faint warmth lingers. With the wagon prepared anew, you cast a look over your shoulder at the sleeping site. The soil appears disturbed and shadowed, imprinted by hoof prints and footprints. It stands apart from the pristine terrain encircling the campsite, seeming more inhabited, less forbidding. You board the vehicle, easing into position, your mind already pondering the evening's halt for the beasts. This isn't a mere consideration, but an integral element of existence on these paths, where endurance hinges on all living creatures nearby. Not merely humans, but the beasts that partake in your tranquility, your loads, and your evenings. Mastering the art of interpreting their signals to harness them without abuse emerges as yet another subtle expertise you bear along the route. The choice of stopping point holds nearly equal weight to your preparations. Come late afternoon, you begin surveying the landscape with fresh intent. No longer seeking scenery or milestones, your gaze hunts for cover, gentle elevations, shallow depressions, any feature that disrupts gusts or prevents frigid air from accumulating excessively. The path provides scant ideal spots. Most evenings demand selecting from poor choices and marginally better ones. A valley might shield from breezes, yet hold in the freeze. Elevated terrain allows better runoff, yet exposes you to elements. You ponder these factors silently, gauging the breeze on your skin, observing how vegetation sways or how faint smoke veers when a fire is kindled. Those journeying westward acquired this knack swiftly or suffered consequences. Encampments ceased to be haphazard after gaining familiarity. Devoid of charts or tools, pioneers honed an intuition for how frost embeds itself into the terrain. You now rely on that intuition, even sans clear rationale. This evening, the convoy halts beside a modest incline, barely noticeable, yet it alters the sensation beneath your boots. The surface here proves more solid, drier. You observe the ice forming more sparsely than in the depressions traversed before. That minor observation comforts you beyond mere assurance. As the site assembles, you assist in positioning the wagon, aligning it with the rest to deflect the dominant winds. Such actions have turned instinctive, executed unthinkingly, like fastening a coat against a biting gust. The group operates with shared, wordless resolve, as though bound by an implicit pact. You remember a practice witnessed but once prior. Just prior to dusk, a fellow paces the camp's edge, scuffing his heel to etch shallow furrows angling from the vehicles. It seemed futile then. Now, with ice uneven and dampness concentrating in other areas, you grasp how it diverts moisture, averting buildup where it would crystallize, and how tiny modifications influence the dark hours. You bed down as shadows lengthen, attuned to the terrain below in a manner absent from your former life. The soil here seems steadfast, less sodden, less prone to sapping your warmth. You adjust your coverings, noting how minor tweaks yield tangible improvements. Rest arrives in intervals. You stir once from an abrupt iciness, only to recognize it's the hush, not the freeze, that jolted you. The gusts have ceased altogether. The atmosphere hangs dense and motionless, weighing upon you. When chill lacks escape, it shifts in nature. You huddle closer, mindful that calm poses its own trials. In depressions, such evenings would prove savage. Elevated slightly, it seems bearable. You cling to that notion tentatively, aware it might not endure. No universal theory encompasses every tale of how site selection swayed endurance. Certain nights honored prudent decisions, while others disregarded them utterly. Amid the weave of fortune and moment, your insight remains straightforward. This night fares superior to certain ones, inferior to others, and that suffices. As daybreak nears, the frost intensifies anew, embedding into the earth like a concluding trial. You inhale measuredly, enduring the progression of time. When daylight seeps through the fabric, a subdued ease washes over you. Dawn discloses what your gut foretold. Ice clings more lightly here. The earth yields a softer crackle under step. A companion remarks offhand, not in a claim, but mere note. You acknowledge with a dip of the head, storing the detail. As the convoy readies to advance, you glance once more at the rest spot. It appears mundane, inconspicuous, yet it molded your evening through each inhalation. You mount up, resuming your seat, eyes already probing the expanse forward. The route extends onward, promising myriad evenings ahead, some harsher, some milder. Acquiring the ability to interpret the soil and select your halts thoughtfully, rather than arbitrarily, adds another understated safeguard. You tote westward. Endurance inscribes itself not solely in your provisions, but in your pauses, your respites, and your vigilant attunement to the terrain ere darkness descends. Once the chill takes hold, water poses a whole new challenge. In the daylight hours, handling it feels almost instinctive. You sip whenever possible and top up supplies at the first opportunity. But come evening, it grows reluctant, sluggish, and defiant. As twilight fades, you eye the vessels clustered by the wagon, battered tin mugs, sturdy wooden pails, a compact barrel lashed tightly to avoid spills. You're all too aware of the consequences of neglect. By first light, some will have solidified into icy lumps, while others might split from the pressure of expanding frost. It's a scene you've witnessed before, and you refuse to act as if it'll play out any differently this time. Trail folk adapted their habits to this reality without needing to codify it as protocol. Water was lifeblood, yet the freeze forced trade-offs. They'd shift containers nearer the fire's glow, bundle some in fabric layers, or haul others into the wagon's confines, trading space for a bit more time as liquid. This evening, you decide to claim one for the interior. It seems indulgent, cumbersome to carve out space amid the bedding and huddled forms. Even so, you maneuver it snugly by your boots, banking on your body heat to stave off a full freeze. The container's chill bites into your skin right away, but you push through, relying on the gradual transfer of warmth. From beyond the canvas, a faint scrape echoes, someone already prying at the thin ice edging a pail. The sharp, fragile clink stirs a quiet vigilance in you. That task will loop again at daybreak. Early on the trek, you adopted a subtle trick that's now instinctive. Before dark, you angle the containers just so, creating space for ice to rise without bursting the sides. It doesn't succeed every time, but its reliability counts. You repeat the motion now, methodical and exact, then nestle it into position. Within the wagon, the frost creeps in with its usual deliberate calm. You settle down, breaths measured, attuned to the vessel at your feet. It weighs on you like a duty, not a solace. You recall how morning thirst can sap vitality quicker than an empty belly ever would. Slumber ebbs and flows. Once parched lips urge you toward it in the dark. You hold back, mindful that stirring could squander the fragile heat you've fostered. You just endure the dryness, letting it fade. Midway through the night, the air turns biting, a sudden plunge that you sense in your bones before your mind registers it. Tensing limbs, heightening senses. You draw in tighter, drawing covers nearer before easing back to stillness. At sunrise, a weak glow seeps through the fabric, faint and watery. Your hand extends tentatively to the container. It's frigid, yet unfrozen. A skim of ice floats on top, fragile enough to shatter with a nudge. A subdued ease washes over you, no fanfare attached. Beyond, luck hasn't favored everyone. Pails stand fractured, edges sundered by relentless expansion. A low grumble rises as someone assesses the toll. What's left of the water gets rescued piecemeal, ice hacked free and thawed gradually over fresh flames. The dawn rituals bend to this hurdle, hours lost to mending what ought to have endured. Steps grow wearier, patience frayed. You drink sparingly from your mug, the icy liquid a stark but grateful relief sliding down. As the camp stirs anew, it dawns on you how the darkness exacted its quiet toll, unheralded, beyond mere heat. It was safeguarding the essentials that sustain it: flame, provisions, hydration. Each requires vigilant care when winter grips tight. You store the now lighter vessel, fastening it for the road ahead. The insight lingers softly. Nights probe not only your stamina, but your preparation. As the wagon lurches onward, your gaze drifts to the horizon, already pondering the evening to come. Where to place the water, what might solidify, which could shatter from oversight. In this vastness, thriving hinges on those modest pre-bedtime calls. Nothing grand, merely thoughtful, pragmatic steps that greet daylight with less chaos. Provisions shift in character as the evenings turn frigid. By day, they're mere sustenance and habit. Under cover of night, they turn vulnerable. You begin to discern how certain goods stiffen, how others decay, how some resist thawing. Once the mercury falls, evening meals transcend mere appetite. They hinge on what endures till dawn. With shadows lengthening, you sift through the stores, fingers deliberate and unhurried. Loaves get inspected foremost. Any pliable enough to turn rigid overnight gets bundled and positioned near warmth. Flesh is evaluated by feel over fragrance now. You've come to rely on instinct over packaging or optimism. Frost safeguards select items while ruining the rest. Pioneer groups quietly refine their rations as weather worsened. What served in milder times proved fickle after the first freezes. Fare simplified, grew denser, selected for resilience against both chill and delay. You sense that evolution tonight, discarding pieces that would congeal uselessly by morning. A nearby traveler retrieves a chunk of preserved meat, rigid like timber. They knock it lightly against the wagon's edge to check its firmness, then offer a subtle grin. It'll endure. You exchange a knowing look. No conversation required. Provisions immune to freezing are the ones you can rely on truly. Tonight, you spot an odd yet practical routine. One woman slips a pat of butter into a stocking before nestling it against her chest inside her jacket. She meets your gaze and gives a casual lift of her shoulders, implying it's effective in its quirky way. You commit the trick to memory. Come tomorrow evening, you might experiment with it yourself. Within the wagon, supplies get arranged thoughtfully. Essentials for the morning meal stay nearby, insulated from the harshest chill. You tuck a compact package by your side, conscious of its form even as you get comfortable. It digs in awkwardly, yet you tolerate it, preferable to gnawing on frozen chunks at first light. As darkness thickens, you stir once to an unfamiliar noise, a gentle snap. Alarm sparks briefly. Then it dawns on you. Just a vessel shrinking under the intensifying freeze. You release a measured breath, allowing tension to ease from your frame. Nights such as this yield no predictable outcomes for provisions. Dawn sometimes reveals unexpected triumphs, other times disappointments. Tales circulate of stockpiles spoiled in hours, or meticulously prepared dishes spoiled by an abrupt drop in temperature. Conversely, some narratives recount prolonged triumphs, with edibles holding out well past predictions. Outcomes fluctuate dramatically, influenced by conditions, methods of keeping, and chance. You adjust your position, attentive to the parcel at your side. Its heat lingers faintly, scant, yet sufficient. Slumber reclaims you lightly, mind wandering amid pangs of appetite and repose. Eventually, your gut clenches, signaling how the chill accelerates calorie burn like never before. You ride out the sensation steadily, permitting it to fade. Daybreak is inevitable. Sustenance will come after. You've come to believe that. When pale rays seep past the cover, you rise gingerly, limbs rigid yet functional. Your hand finds the parcel, and you unfold it with deliberate care. Chilled but whole, not iced over. A calm assurance washes through you, unhurried and firm. Beyond the wagon, fellow travelers uncover varied fortunes. A few beam in satisfaction, while others exhale in resignation, discarding what succumbed. No blame circulates, merely adaptations. Failures from the prior evening prompt new tactics for the next. The morning meal is basic, yet heated. Flames demand more effort now, tended diligently. Vapor curls from cookware, bearing scents that draw the group in. You consume deliberately, sensing vitality return, countering the night's toll. As the sight buzzes to life, you secure the leftovers. Priorities reorder instinctively, driven by the freeze over mere want. Select goods draw nearer, while less resilient ones get used up promptly. Your reserves evolve, sorted by endurance instead of preference. Once the wagon lurches forward, the creak of wheels steadies your mind. Gazing forward, then at your weathered palms, chapped by gales and ice, you reflect. Nourishment transcends mere baggage now. It demands guarding, evening after evening, with the vigilance you apply to your personal comfort. In this expanse, enduring the bitterest dark isn't solely about outlasting the hours. It's emerging with vitality intact to press onward. Edibles that remain edible. Planning sharp enough to thwart the path from claiming the future prematurely. And with the hours stretching ahead, you're certain, as before, choices for meals will hinge not on flavor alone, but on outlasting dusk. Sickness looms larger after sunset. By daylight, discomforts can be dismissed. Rasps attributed to trail dust, weariness to miles covered. Shadow erases such rationales. As frost embeds and motion halts, vulnerabilities emerge starkly. You observe it initially in pre-sleep rituals. Hands bending deliberately, limbs probed, a throat cleared that echoes unduly. Nobody amplifies the concern. Space doesn't allow it. Rather, there's vigilance. Restrained and deliberate, Frost excels at escalating minor issues. Chapped skin turns agonizing. A minor scrape hardens and pulses. A light hack resonates more profoundly amid misty exhales. Your form feels altered to you, probed for alerts even in pursuit of ease. The journey permitted scant tolerance for mishaps in wellness. Cures stayed basic, confined to portables or on-the-spot fixes. This truth requires no explanation. You've witnessed vigor ebb rapidly when rest falters and evenings sap rather than renew. Easing into your spot, a companion hands over a modest canister wordlessly. Within lies a dense ointment, sharp-scented and murky. The aroma registers at once. Botanicals mixed with tallow, intended for daubing lungs or aches. You claim a dab, rubbing it warm between hands before working it into tender spots. The odor bites, clinical almost, yet it instills purpose that soothes beyond anticipation. More than anticipated, tales from the trail tell of households depending on these blends evening after evening. Not for any miraculous healing, but because they provided solace and a sense of normalcy. This evening's ritual offers a stabilizing anchor. You apply the salve deliberately, then clean your fingers on a rag and lean back. Slumber arrives gently. A cough stirs you awake, its echo odd in the motionless atmosphere. It's intermittent, yet persistent enough to sharpen your awareness. You strain to hear, observing its cadence, intensity, any signs of improvement or decline. Eventually, it subsides, giving way to even respiration once more. The chill seeps deeper, reminding you how it constricts your lungs on a full breath. You opt for shallow draws through the cloth, preheating the incoming air. It eases the discomfort. You commit that trick to memory, ready for future chills. Journey logs often clash in their depictions of these treks. Certain evenings unfold uneventfully, with sickness warded off by sheer grit and fortune. Others signal shifts like escalating temperatures or persistent hacks that linger indefinitely. Trends emerge, yet they're erratic. Influenced by climate, fatigue, and personal endurance, you adjust your position cautiously, avoiding bare flesh. The wagon groans briefly in kind before quieting. Beyond, the darkness holds its hush, frosty yet stable. Such reliability soothes. Abrupt shift tacks already weary frames more severely. Later you rouse with parched discomfort in your gullet. You gulp, then grope for the canteen, sipping sparingly. The water's icy but calming. You swish it briefly before downing it. Secure the vessel again and compose yourself. Fleetingly you ponder the fragility, how a fiercer frost, skipped nourishment, or another sleepless stretch could unravel everything. The notion sparks and vanishes. Fretting serves no purpose here. Focus does. As time wears on, the frost intensifies before leveling off. Your form adapts, striking a fragile equilibrium between strain and repose. You respire steadily, attuned not only to your own rhythm, but to the faint noises nearby. All are present, all draw breath. As daybreak nears, faint glow seeps in, tinting the tarp a soft ashen hue. You stir with rigidity, yet free of the oppressive haze from truly rough vigils. This matters. The camp's dawn activities commence with subtlety. Folks assess each other discreetly. A offhand query, a lingering look. One passes a heated beverage to another, no words needed. It's taken in silence. You ease into stretches, gauging limbs, registering twinges that will dissolve with motion. No spot hurts more than yesterday's clothes. That's sufficient. You clasp a steaming mug when it's handed over, vapors curling up as the group fully rouses. The night's wary watchfulness softens. Any perils lurking in shadow failed to grip this round. You realize it won't always hold true. Certain evenings etch scars that daylight can't erase. But this morning, you join the rest, aching yet functional. You stow the salve tin, the rag, the minor safeguards that carried you through. They integrate into your habits now. Out here, enduring the harshest darks demands more than mere heat. It requires safeguarding your frame, vigilant, whole enough to press onward. Every such evening conquered counts as a modest triumph, tucked away to fuel tomorrow's labors. Darkness hones your ears. In blackness, each noise bears significance. Your thoughts compelled to classify them as benign or risky. You remain motionless, gaze fixed, attending to the realm outside the cover as though it's confiding in you. The usual wagon's timber groan as it shrinks. You've grown familiar with it. The protest and ease as cold grips tighter. The gentle stir of livestock, the muted comfort of shifting feet. These indicate normal persistence. You allow them to drift by untroubled. Then come the unsettling ones, jolting you half erect instinctively. A crisp crack distant from the fire pit. A stir too purposeful for mere breeze. Your frame tenses, pulse quickens, ahead of rational thought. Trail existence reshapes your hearing. You cease judging volume and instead probe the implied motion. Gales sweep wide, creatures halt, then resume. Timber eases and halts. You absorb these rhythms through necessity, not instruction, since rest hinges on them. You stay put, tallying inhalations. Silence follows. It doesn't recur. The source has departed or proved less dire than imagined. Gradually, stiffness melts from your neck and back. You lower yourself cautiously, preserving the cocoon of heat you've gathered. From a nearby wagon, a faint throat clearing echoes softly. Someone else adjusts their spot, the boards groaning in response. These subtle signs of life offer reassurance. They assure you that others are equally vigilant in the quiet, sifting through the night's whispers for real peril in their minds. You've picked up a common ritual among the group, one that happens instinctively now. Just before committing to rest, folks pause to catalog the camp's everyday hum, the steady cadence of breaths, the stray jingle of tack, the wind's gentle rustle in the grass. Any deviation from that later will flag itself right away. You follow suit at this moment, etching a mental template of the ordinary. Slumber arrives in fits and starts. You slip under, only to bob back up at the slightest prompt. With each awakening, your evaluation sharpens, faster than the last. Nearly everything proves benign. A twig brushing softly, a loose canvas edge fluttering. Once identified, you release it without a second thought. Certain evenings, that attentiveness averts disaster. On others, it robs you of repose for no cause. Around the campfire, you've caught both tales shared in hushed tones. Some recount rousing at the perfect instant to halt a bolting beast or scare away an inquisitive prowler. Others confess to endless wakefulness, warding off phantoms that never materialized. You figure they're all valid, shaped by the night's temperament. The chill complicates vigilance. It hones your awareness, yet clouds clear thinking. You chide yourself on this, easing your inhales to steady, holding dread in check. Anxiety bleeds heat. Composure hoards it. Eventually, a remote yip echoes through the gloom, faint and quivering. It prickles your skin beneath the coverings. Still, you know its source. A coyote too distant for worry. You linger, attuned as the echo dissolves into silence. Bit by bit, your frame unwinds once more. The evening reclaims its reliable cadence. Noises loop in known sequences. No intrusion nears. No response is required. As time wears on, interruptions dwindle. When they do pull you alert, your thoughts stay even-keeled. Your past bolting upright for every rustle. Discernment has taught you the critical from the trivial. As daybreak nears, quietude shifts, not strained but anticipatory. The frost bites deepest in this final stretch, and wildlife falls mute too. You remain prone, absorbing that hush, letting it flow over you. When the sky pales at last, you rise deliberately, limbs creaky, yet firm. Beyond the canvas, the scene unfolds as usual. No footprints mar the vicinity. No upheaval marks the sight. Just iced-over vehicles and weary travelers stirring for the new day. While limbering up and readying yourself, it hits you. How the darkness exacted a toll without a single grasp through ceaseless watchfulness, discernment, endurance. That unseen labor in shadow goes unspoken most times. Out here, enduring the bitterest dark demands more than mere cover or fire. It requires poise amid alertness, ignoring terror's pull, distinguishing vital alerts from those you can tune out. You fold the evening away alongside your gear, bundling quilts and cinching lines. The path ahead lies hushed, transformed, And as the conveyance lurches onward with its familiar groan, you tote that vigilant ear forward, primed for the shadow's next call. The witching hour elongates unlike any sunlit span. Those stretches from full dusk to morning's tease stretch taut, strained by frost and alertness. You hunker bundled and motionless, urging the clock to steady. Here, in the night's core, forbearance counts above all. Dusk carries intent. The wee hours nurture optimism. True midnight offers none. It just lingers, demanding you weather it, sans solace. Your inner monologue sharpens, prone to drifting unchecked. With no outer clamor, you fidget a touch, then halt. Stirring saps heat, and heat's a scarce treasure. Thus you master gauging each twitch, balancing ease against loss. Usually immobility prevails. The bite of winter sneaks in gradually, not crashing down. It seeps. You sense it initially where flesh lingers too fixed on the planks, next in digits clench for solace. Your puffs turn brief, not from alarm, but nature's cue to preheat the intake. Trail chroniclers often dub these stretches the toughest, not for upheavals, but their absence. Flesh craves oblivion. Frost fights back. You dangle betwixt, adrift in obscurity. To bridge the gap, your thoughts grasp tiny tethers. You tally inhalations. You follow known contours in the void, the drape of cloth, the arc of an axle. You track the nearby chorus of respirations. It serves as a muted pulse, ticking off moments where timepieces fail. A companion rustles nearby, then quiets once more. The motion's gentle, near contrite. You grasp that impulse all too well. All await the identical arrival. Sunrise, motion, the return of warmth. Over countless evenings observing fellow voyagers, you've gleaned a subtle method. As your mind starts to whirl, you deliberately temper it, envisioning the dawn rituals one by one, kindling the blaze, cradling that initial mug to thaw your fingers, lacing up boots that resist yet hold true. This isn't mere hopefulness. It's preparation. Your frame eases its strain sufficiently for repose. Slumber arrives in snippets, moments scattered, a handful now, another shortly after. Each awakening reveals the darkness unaltered, perpetual. You assure yourself otherwise. It merely seems so. Tales circulate among the wanderers of evenings that drag eternally, only for daybreak to burst forth abruptly, catching all off guard. Companions recount peering skyward repeatedly. Certain light should have pierced earlier. When chill grips tight, duration warps oddly. You shift incrementally with precision. The frost yields a touch in one area, claiming another. You welcome the exchange. Perfection eludes. Discomfort merely shifts. Beyond the canvas, silence reigns. No gusts, no flakes drifting, merely profound frigidity bearing down uniformly. It's weighty, yet foreseen. You favor this steadiness over evenings of abrupt shifts. Eventually, you note your breaths deepening. Ideas soften, less demanding. You're awake still, yet recharging meaningfully. The form seizes whatever respite offers. Then, imperceptibly, the gloom alters. At first, it's barely there. The fabric pales a tone you detect only if seeking it. You remain motionless, wary of illusion. Then it recurs. A dim haze emerging from void. Solace seeps in soundlessly. It doesn't surge. It roots in your core and lingers. You've navigated the deepest stretches once more. As heavens brighten further, stirrings commence nearby. A cough echoes faintly. Another extends, bones creaking mildly. The hush dissolves without drama. You rise gradually, aches underscoring the vigil's span. Palms prickle with reviving flow. Outdoors, ice sparkles snaring scant illumination. Still frigid, yet the peak ordeal fades. Daily duties unfold in routine order. Flames ignite, heat pursues, sustenance when feasible. You navigate these with subdued contentment, having weathered hardships sans proclamation. As the cart preps anew, you eye the spot where shadows once loomed vast. It appears mundane, forgettable now. You recognize its truth. Those stretches challenge deeper than tempests or perils abrupt. They demand endurance, composure, the fortitude to embrace unease without yielding to alarm. In this expanse, conquering gelid eves hinges on reconciling with the protracted ones, allowing moments to flow unresisted, believing daylight nears despite seeming remote. And with creaks resuming under the axles, you bear that wisdom onward. Aware it'll prove vital ahead when gloom thins at witching hour, urging perseverance anew. You've come to see heat transcends the tangible. Certain eves, no bundling suffices fully. Then you pivot internal, wielding cognition as erstwhile you did added coverings. The bite encroaches identically, but your response evolves. You recline immobile, lids shut, directing focus to respiration. Inhale measured, exhale drawn. Picture the draft heating within, pause and amply to count. No guide imparted this outright. It emerged from endless wakeful spells, discerning aids from hindrances. Trail companions murmur of invocations breathe to shadows or melodies intone silently, less for diversion than stabilization. That drive resonates with you. Recurrence soothes the physique. Cadence tethers cognition. Be it a stanza from youth or basic enumeration, it offers thoughts a grasp. This eve, you dwell on recollections, not the path forward or miles traversed, but humble vignettes, a hearthside board back home, sunbeams via panes, footsteps in adjacent chambers. Such musings thaw unexpectedly. Tension drains from your frame a bit. Teeth part easily. Nearby, a voice utters faint phrases inaudible. Perhaps a supplication, perhaps self-assurance. Irrelevant. The tone is even, subdued, diffusing tranquility through the enclosure. You sync inhalations to its flow, permitting the pulse to guide. Legends circulate along the route of souls who vowed mental focus bred heat. That serene, unwavering reflections curbed tremors and eased slumber's onset. Some folks brush off those ideas as pure folly, arguing that tangible actions are the only real fix. Curled up here under your coverings and attuned to the sounds, though, you sense the reality lies in a middle ground. The flesh heeds the brain more than most folks care to concede. You experiment with a basic technique you've honed across a few chilly evenings. Beginning with your toes, you visualize heat creeping up bit by bit. Heels, shins, thighs. You draw out each breath deliberately, allowing the notion to take root before advancing. It seems a bit silly initially, yet soon you sense the chill in your feet easing off. Or perhaps you're just diverting your focus from it. Regardless, ease creeps in. Slumber approaches gradually, in soft tugs rather than a rush. You float off, stir briefly, then slip away once more. Whenever consciousness returns, you sink back to that inner tempo, inhaling, tallying breaths, acknowledging the frost lingers on. It's far from conquered, but it no longer rules your every notion. This change carries weight. It restores a sliver of control amid circumstances that feel so dictated. Eventually, you notice your frame hasn't shifted in ages. You've eased into immobility without protest, prompting a subtle realignment. That's a fresh development. You remain in that pose, relying on the stance and the method alike. Beyond the shelter, the darkness holds steady. No gusts, no flurries, just silence and chill extending into dawn. You face it with poise, no longer battling each twinge. Upon stirring next, faint light filters through the fabric overhead. Rest has claimed you in a manner unrelated to ease. Your form may weary, but your psyche holds firm. That's a triumph in itself. The daybreak routine plays out as usual. Flames crackle to life. Palms thaw gradually. Exhalations cloud the air briefly before the sun ascends. You navigate these steps with an unexpected serenity. Savoring a hot drink, your mind wanders not to the freeze per se, but to your encounter with it. You grasp that taming your inner chatter didn't shorten the hours or boost the temperature. It softened the ordeal. On this journey, enduring isn't solely about piling on extras. At times, it's reallocating your inner resources cleverly. A measured inhale, familiar patterns recalled, a psyche adept at yielding when the surroundings turn rigid. You settle into the wagon anew as it lurches forward. Bearing that insight, the path unfurls ahead, promising countless similar evenings. You've come to understand that even when heat dwindles, you can confront the shadows with inner resolve and hush, which proves sufficient to bridge you to daylight. Dawn doesn't restore your grip all in one go. It parcels it out piecemeal. Initially, the throb hits keen and unyielding. Next comes the prickle, bordering on hurt, as circulation reclaims digits gone numb from nocturnal rigidity. You tuck your hands against your chest, exhaling deliberately, permitting the sensations to ebb and flow naturally. Everyday chores loom, yet they now seem intricate. Fastenings defy you. Ties cling stubbornly. Merely raising a mug requires intent. You counsel yourself against haste. Haste breeds errors, and errors drain reserves the chill has already sapped. You observe companions grappling with identical subdued battles, digits stretched and curled, breaths huffed softly over knuckles despite the biting air. One person thuds their boots while clutching a metal mug between rigid grips. Complaints stay unspoken. This marks the standard start to days now. Frosty dawns enact this ritual without fail. You've discerned how evening immobility stiffens limbs and dulls sinews. That initial stretch post-awakening proves toughest until activity coaxes vitality home. You persist through it methodically, allowing action to weave its magic. The blaze aids, though delayed. You extend your hands toward the blaze, near enough for the glow without risking char. The initial rush borders on too much keen and jarring. You withdraw on reflex, then approach afresh with restraint. Incremental works best. Your frame insists on it. A companion nearby chafes their palms via a rag against wool, dodging direct contact. It appears quirky, but you mimic it, startled by the relief. Warmth accumulates sans the fierce bite, and you continue till dexterity revives. Duties resume smoothly, buckles cinched, bedding packed, a cover latched that would have bested you shortly before. Vigor seeps back, unannounced, sans fanfare. You welcome it humbly as daylight strengthens. The peak rigidity ebbs, tendons unwind, posture eases. You reclaim full presence in your form, no more warding off the chill, but partnering with it. This shift recurs daily, foreseeable but ever irksome. You ponder fleetingly the contrast to evenings. Dusk siphons heat through repose. Daybreak rekindles it via exertion. The pattern grows routine enough to shed its bitterness. This simply defines trail existence. You gulp down your morning meal while standing, cupping mugs that chase away the chill, vapor rising in misty swirls. The hot liquid seeps slowly through you, its flavor a distant afterthought. What counts is the heat battling the frost all around. Your companions mirror your actions, hushed and intent. Some dawns leave digits numb beyond repair. You've caught those tales. Palms that fumble through the hours, power that lingers weak. But this dawn spares you that fate. Gratitude flickers inside, unspoken, as the carts prepare to roll onward. You hoist yourself onto the seat with motions edging toward routine. Close, but not quite. One more clench of your fists, probing their response. They're sluggish, yet dependable. As the axles start churning, the sway aids the thaw. Jolts ripple upward, easing the night's grip. You lay your palms flat in your lap, sensing the coziness root where it should. Gazing forward, you're aware the evening chill will reclaim its toll. Frost will seize whatever it craves. Dawn will demand you wrest it back, bit by bit. Such patterns no longer startle out here. They just are. Enduring the harshest dark isn't merely outlasting the shadows. It's about regaining command of your limbs come sunrise. About digits nimble enough to lash lines, heft gear, grip reins. With the path unfurling, you ease into travel's steady beat, palms firm on your thighs. The hours ahead beckon, and you've thawed sufficiently to face them. Dismantling the sight in the freeze drags on, regardless of preparation. Darkness renders all rigid, unwilling, tardy to yield. You sense it instantly upon dropping from the cart. Ice crackles beneath your footwear, solid and resonant in the hushed dawn. You proceed with caution initially. Haste just invites mishaps, fumbled gear, scraped knuckles. These early hours insist on deliberation, even amid your itch to press on. Bedrolls get snapped free, icy flecks dispersing in faint hazes that gleam in the faint glow. The cloth weighs more now, sodden with lingering frigidity. Fellow travelers labor close by, locked in the same muted cadence. Chatter stays scarce. Talk seems superfluous so soon, and exhales are hoarded for warmth. You concentrate on the known sequence: coil, bundle, fasten. Each phase mirrors yesterday's dawn, a habit that occupies your grip while vitality stirs. Wintry starts penalize haste. You grasp that lesson well. An untied loop might crack under strain. Hide hardens through the hours, defying clasps and hitches. You coax it patiently, rubbing life back with your touch before securing it firm. The process stretches time, but it endures. A neighbor wrestles a iced fastener nearby, yanking with growing frustration. You observe briefly, then approach, overlaying your hand on theirs to guide the rhythm. Pausing jointly, you exhale onto the iron till it relents. No dialogue passes. It's redundant. You've picked up little hacks that smooth the toil, gleaned from others' stumbles and triumphs. Swaddling implements overnight to spare your flesh their dawn nip. Coiling cords neatly to dodge frozen tangles. Even supply placement counts these days, positioning the trickiest loads within easy grasp. You heave a box and the chill pierces the timber straight to your skin, keen and probing. You lower it, working your knuckles, then raise it with intent care. The throb ebbs quicker than in the trek's early stretches. Your frame has adapted to the drill. As the outpost unravels gradually, the terrain shifts subtly. Rays intensify. Hoarfrost softens. The breeze nips onward, yet lacks its former ferocity. You read that as your cue. Livestock stir next, their huffs billowing dense and vaporous while yokes are fitted. They balk initially after a night of idleness. You urge them softly, easing into stride sans coercion. They heat up alongside you, sinews recalling their roles stride by stride. Certain sunrises drag camp breakdown into eternity. Tasks double in duration. Little cooperates. You've endured those too. This one diverges. Pace lags, yet advances occur. Victory enough. You remount the cart, claiming your spot as final loads lock in. The timbers groan beneath burden shifts tone now. Less taut, more primed. The vehicle yearns for the road like you. When the rims at last grind ahead, a shared easing of strain ripples through, tangible almost. Travel revives heat better than flames ever could. Circulation surges, limbs unknot. The freeze withdraws reluctantly as the route beckons. You cast a single look rearward at the spot that confined you through dusk. It appears mundane once more, mere earth shedding its glaze. By dusk, scant trace of your stay will linger. As the cart trundles on, the rigidity drains fully from your grasp. Your hands relax fully now, poised for the tasks to come. You reflect on how the mornings at the journey's beginning carried a different weight. Simple chores after a frigid night seem daunting, almost insurmountable. These days, the routine has grown more approachable, not effortless, but routine enough to navigate. You've come to anticipate the demands and handle them with assurance. That growing certainty holds its own kind of strength. In this vast landscape, enduring the harshest evenings isn't a one-time triumph. It's affirmed daily as you dismantle the site, secure the livestock, and press onward without setbacks or harm. Every smooth start grants you the go-ahead to persist. The path ahead unfurls with fresh trials, more evenings, deeper chills. You settle into silence, allowing the steady cadence of the journey to calm your grip and even your breathing. Another night will descend soon enough. It always does. Yet right now, you're in motion, and that brings heat, advancement, and a hard-won new day. You start to recognize how every icy evening imprints a subtle teaching woven seamlessly into your reflexes and recollections. It's understated, without any flash of enlightenment. Rather, it's a gradual build-up. Minor tweaks accumulate over successive evenings, molding your actions instinctively, without need for deliberation. As dusk draws near once more, you prepare ahead of schedule, not prompted by others, but because the pattern has embedded itself within you. Chores that used to linger until twilight now unfold while daylight persists. You shake out the covers for a moment. Spare garments are positioned nearby for easy access. There's no haste, yet no oversights either. You recall the early blunders that rang out awkwardly, a misplaced mitten, a loose fastening, a cover left sodden. These days, slip-ups register more softly. You spot them, adapt swiftly, and continue. The chill still exacts a toll for flaws, but your rebound is quicker, carrying less burden. Those nearby exhibit the same evolution. Actions flow more fluidly. Choices emerge with minimal discussion. Folks now foresee the evening instead of scrambling against it. A collective awareness emerges that hard-won insight matters out here, discomfort notwithstanding. You catch a modest shift in your routines that catches you off guard. Before bedding down, you inspect the terrain doubly, first visually, then by footfall, gauging incline, solidity, dampness. Back at the outset, such nuances would have slipped past unnoticed. Now they rank alongside the essentials you tote, close by. Another person experiments with a fresh setup, piling the sleep gear in a novel way from the prior evening. You observe wordlessly, intrigued yet cautious. Certain tries succeed, others falter. The sole guideline appears to be heeding the outcome. Within the wagon, you organize your area with fluid familiarity. Belongings slot in as if predestined. Your frame intuitively recalls the spots that retain heat, where strain turns to ache, where spaces might yawn open. Settlements require scant revisions once you're reclined, relying on accumulated wisdom. The evening progresses initially without shocks. The frost advances methodically, recognizably. You confront it with composure, inhaling deeply, permitting the coverings to fulfill their role. Rest arrives in extended intervals, still broken, but more resilient. Eventually, you stir and sense an unexpected mildness, not cozy, but balanced. You mentally catalog it, reviewing the variations from this evening. The reason isn't glaring. It rarely is. Triumphs out here arise from blends, not isolated fixes. Dawn breaks softly, lacking the biting urgency of past awakenings. You extend, probing your limbs, observing the rigidity that dissipates rapidly with activity. That's advancement. As the sight stirs, a subdued assurance permeates the group. Not arrogance precisely, more a sense of routine. Everyone grasps their duties and executes them. The frost no longer poses as an adversary to conquer. It's merely an element to handle. You stow your gear with briefer hesitations. Your fingers operate reliably. All seems innate. The sequences you once pondered step by step now proceed autonomously. As the wagon lurches ahead anew, you ease into your spot. Sensation of vitality creeping back via the sway. You gaze forward, then momentarily rearward, pondering the evening endured. It passed without fanfare, and in that lies the essence of it all in these parts. Achievement is gauged by the ordinariness of an evening, when disruptions stay minor and predictable. When tweaks are routine and unalarming, when the chill doesn't seize every notion, you grasp that tougher evenings await. Gales, piercing gusts, abrupt freezes. Hardship doesn't vanish with know-how. It equips you to face it steadily, sans alarm. With the route extending onward, that readiness sinks further in. Each evening layers on more. Not merely cloth or habit, but comprehension. You bear it along, vital as provisions or flame. And as the sun propels you further, you repose in that awareness, certain that upon night's return, you'll greet it more adeptly than prior. Even sans mishaps, the path retains its vulnerability. Under cover of dark, that's the very thing that disturbs you most. The chill doesn't require any theatrics to pose a real peril. It just lurks, steady and uncaring, until someone lets their guard down against it. As dusk approaches, that realization sinks in deeper. The heavens grow dim, the atmosphere sharpens, and the settlement falls into hush. Folks go about their well-worn tasks, but you observe their precision, their thriftiness with every resource. Nobody handles provisions lightly. Logs get tallied. Rations are portioned out. Bedding is shielded from moisture like fine fabric. There's a silent rationale behind it all, even if unspoken. You ponder how a slight setback can escalate in moments. A snapped wheel in broad light is merely vexing. The same at midnight, with frost closing in, turns critical. A missing mitten annoys during the day, but on a frigid evening, it spells danger that creeps from hand to limb to core. You've witnessed plenty of such trifles piling up swiftly, Within the cart, you arrange yourself deliberately. You draw your wrappings snug, secure the covers firmly, position your belongings so essentials stay within grasp, not out of anticipated peril, but from the lesson that readiness fosters composure should issues arise unbidden. Close by, a fellow secures his cap to his arm with a length of twine before slipping under his covers. It seems clumsy, yet it wards off misplacement in the gloom. You take note, and soon you're mimicking the idea with your own mittens, looping cord through them to keep them from slipping away into obscurity. The routine strikes you as minor, even absurd, until you picture groping for heat and grasping empty air. The freeze intensifies without haste. You recline motionless, attuned to the routine noises of the outpost winding down. Livestock stirs. Tarps flap softly. Timber creaks under contraction. It all seems routine. Still, you can't shake the sense of how scant your shelter truly is. A cart isn't a sturdy home. A coverlet isn't a solid barrier. Out in this expanse, mere basics stand between you and the blackness. Slumber arrives fitfully. You hover between drowsiness and wakefulness, not stirred by clamor, but by the subtle vigilance the frost insists upon. You inhale deliberately, easing your frame while keeping your thoughts lightly attuned. Eventually, you rouse amid the hush of fellow travelers at rest. That quiet weighs oppressively. You strain for signs of life, breathing, shifts, proof that the group endures. There they are. The ease that follows is understated yet genuine. Some evenings the frost probes like a challenge. Others it just persists while you're incidentally present. This one hovers in the middle ground, not savage, but resolute. It underscores that ease isn't assured, no matter how flawlessly you prepare. As time wears on, you detect shifts in your own habits. The way you minimize motion, safeguard your vital warmth, settle for reliable steadiness over ideal ease. These shifts occur instinctively now. Your form has absorbed the essentials. As daybreak nears, the bite sharpens anew, bringing that known throb to extremities. No alarm rises in you. You nestle them nearer, warm them against livelier zones, and endure. Endurance has woven itself into your abilities. When dawn at last filters through the cloth, you rise gradually, all functions, albeit with reluctance. You exhale, seeing vapor dissipate, and grasp that you've navigated yet another unheralded harsh night. Beyond, the outpost appears every day, rime on surfaces, subdued murmurs, blazes reigniting. But you're aware of the razor-edge proximity to disaster. You thaw your palms by the initial sparks and survey the group. They appear weary, yet resolute. No fanfare ensues. Here, mere persistence isn't triumph. It's just the ongoing journey as vehicles prepare to roll. Your mittens dangle right where secured, awaiting you. That tiny assurance draws a fleeting grin, soon yielding to concentration. Modest precautions count. They thwart the darkness from claiming irreplaceable losses. And with the path urging you ahead once more, you cling to that understated watchfulness. Not terror, not apprehension, just keen perception. The sort that sharpens focus without sparking chaos. In this wilderness, the chill requires no disaster to kill. It merely awaits your lapse in recalling the frailty of your shields. You don't lapse, not any longer. You've come to see how proximity alters heat among companions, not invariably positively. Evenings in company offer solace, yet they introduce clamor, stir, and hazards absent in isolation. You sense that equilibrium keenly as twilight descends and vehicles cluster anew. Strength lies in solidarity. Forms huddled retain ambient warmth extendedly. Communal flames conserve timber. Invariably, aid emerges. An additional layer, a borrowed vessel, a quiet gesture. Wordlessly, you value it all. During the chilliest evenings, the company of fellow travelers acts like an extra covering you never needed to haul along. Yet, proximity comes with drawbacks. A nearby cough cuts through the silence, harsh and unrelenting. An infant stirs and whimpers for a moment until comforted. A cart's axle creaks suddenly as a sleeper shifts position. These noises echo across the encampment, pulling you toward awareness. You remain motionless, attuned to every sound, realizing that this collective existence sustains you while heightening your vigilance. In this wilderness, solitude spells peril, though unity seldom brings silence. You've observed how folks arrange their spots these days, not merely for body heat, but for tranquility. Households with fidgety resters edge a bit farther out. Those tending skittish livestock receive wider berth. Such placements evolve organically, honed by prior evenings' tough experiences. It's a subtle pattern you've begun mirroring instinctively. You arrange your sleeping gear to stay within arm's reach of someone else if required, yet far enough that no one's tossing and turning jars you awake. The spacing seems precise, guided by gut feeling over precise measurements. A few weeks back, you wouldn't have grasped how to select it. Within the cart this evening, the atmosphere hangs denser, exhalations hang in the air, warmth gathers inconsistently. You adjust once, then cease, allowing your form to relax. Any excess shifting might upset the delicate equilibrium the group has achieved. Rest arrives and recedes in light pulses. Whenever another soul rustles close by, you rouse sufficiently to note it, then drift off anew. Over time, you train yourself to allow others' noises to flow past without response. It demands concentration initially, but soon turns into yet another understated ability. Certain evenings, intimacy preserves existence. Others, it muddles all. You've overheard whispers of both during brighter times, tales of communal heat that proved vital, recollections of illness propagating, irritations building, nights eroded by endless interruptions. This evening hovers neutrally between the two. It simply persists, flawed and communal. As frost intensifies, the benefits of companionship sharpen. Warmth lingers more enduringly. Breezes seem milder. You fold your arms tight and sense heat rebound swiftly amid nearby forms. Midway through the darkness, unrest stirs the sight. A beast bolts in fright. A tether strains taut. Murmurs escalate momentarily, then hush as order restores. You stay put, ears pricked, until serenity resumes. The incident fades, yet slumber resists returning promptly. You inhale deliberately, recalling that this defines communal living. Challenges don't always arrive with courtesy, nor does comfort. You linger until the sight's pulse steadies before your mind wanders. Daybreak creeps in softly. Rays seep past the fabric, soft and lenient. You stir with the usual rigidity, yet mindful that the darkness endured intact. No injuries occurred, no chaos endured. Beyond, folks exchange weary gestures and faint grins. A silent accord acknowledges yet another joint evening survived. Blazes ignite, comfort expands. The intimacy that pressed in the shadows now seems routine once more. While stowing gear and readying to advance, you ponder fleetingly your deepening dependence on the group, despite the toll on repose. In these wilds, endurance seldom isolates to one soul. It molds through adept sharing of room, heat, and forbearance. You mount the cart anew as it lurches forward, sensing the gap to companions stretch with the sun. The solitude welcomes you briefly, but proves fleeting. You're certain the vehicles will cluster tight come dusk. And upon clustering, you'll ease into that equilibrium once more, embracing the refuge and coziness from others, while tolerating the fitful rest it entails. For in this expanse, weathering the harshest chills frequently demands embracing solidarity, even if it leaves you semi-awake. These days you scan the heavens with measured regard, not awe, not dread, merely focus. Cloud formations signal intent, gust patterns hold weight. Even twilight hues convey details you once overlooked at the trek's outset. As dusk approaches, your gaze lifts repeatedly. The breeze stirs uneasily, agitated yet subdued. You spot fowl flying nearer the ground, campfire plumes veering laterally rather than ascended straight. Such signs embed themselves, subtle hints that this dusk might diverge from the prior. Those nearby mirror your watchfulness. No declarations of omens, no sweeping divinations. Rather, habits adjust incrementally. Carts align with greater precision. Additional coverings stay handy. Flames burn extended before dimming. All heed identical indicators, each discerning personally. There's an enduring custom from the journey's dawn that clicks into place now. A fellow invariably glances upward right before turning in. The flames are stoked a touch longer before they're permitted to ebb. The group tunes in to identical signals, each one parsing them through a personal lens. There's an ancient custom from the journey's start that clicks into place now. A fellow routinely scans the heavens right before turning in, not seeking constellations but tracking the drift of clouds rubbing past one another. He follows it by digging a thumb into the earth, testing its dampness. It seemed like mere folklore initially. This evening, you mimic the gesture on autopilot, finger emerging chilled and parched. Within the wagon's confines, you arrange yourself with added tautness than normal, not clenched, merely poised. Essentials are positioned nearby for swift access. A shawl, a coverlet flap left untucked for easy tugging. You recline and attune to the encroaching darkness. The elements reveal no clear plans. They seldom do. Certain evenings deliver precisely what the omen implied. Others veer into surprising gentleness. You've caught tales of both varieties recounted later with unwavering belief. Forecasting out here stays tentative, molded by past encounters yet never ironclad. A breeze surges momentarily, then ebbs. Vapors glide above, dispersing, condensing, refusing to stabilize. You rouse briefly to fabric rustling, then anew as a blast jostles a dangling tie. On each awakening, you evaluate, tweak your setup, and hold steady. The chill advances gradually, without bite. It weighs more than the prior evening, yet remains tolerable. You burrow deeper, inhaling measuredly, allowing the wrappings to shield you. The ambiguity weaves into the vigil itself, a companion you adapt to enduring, not conquering. Eventually, faint moisture descends. Neither flurry nor downpour. Precisely midway, it patters lightly on the tarp, halts, resumes. You track it, tallying intervals amid the taps, observing the cloth soak rapidly then rigidify under the freeze. Slumber wavers never complete surrender. Upon stirring, you anticipate shifts. Occasionally there are some. Gusts alter course. Noises amplify beyond. At other junctures, all stays static, and you grasp the arousal stemmed solely from vigilance. Toward the night's nadir chill, the atmosphere calms. Overcast densifies, trapping scant heat nearer the soil. The alteration registers at once, subtle, yet relieving. The darkness appears to resolve its course finally. Daybreak emerges undramatically. The firmament brightens uniformly. Mists blanch and dissipate. The terrain glistens wet but unfrozen. Blazes ignite swiftly. Exhalations still mist the atmosphere, though the bite dulls. Folks murmur softly about the hours past, sharing perceptions over data. One foresaw harsher, another milder. Each holds validity in context. As the caravan readies to advance, your gaze lifts skyward once more, now serene and mundane. Change looms inevitable. Your interpretations stay forever flawed. In this expanse, endurance hinges less on assurance than on vigilance and timely adaptation, viewing each celestial cue, each indicator as guidance, not vow. You remount the conveyance as axles roll, bearing that mindfulness ahead. This dusk, you'll scrutinize the vault anew, and come morn, recall if it proved reliable. You begin observing how youngsters bear the dark hours unlike grown-ups. They gripe scant amid it, yet the frost etches enduring traces. It's evident in their dawn motions, marginally laggy from yesterday, subdued in chatter. Their recollections of such vigils won't sharpen finely, but they'll embed profoundly. With twilight's hush, habits ease around the young. Supplementary coverings materialize unspoken. Quilts compact tighter, secured nearer. A figure hoists a tot unbidden, nestling them amid natural heat pockets. The shift occurs so fluidly, it slips past notice till complete. In the wagon's hold, the kid nearby coils defensively, safeguarding their center on instinct. Their breaths level sooner than yours. Repose claims them promptly. Weariness blunts the ache's contours. You admire that ease while remaining watchful, split between heeding and marking time. You recall a clan from the trail's outset, binding their offspring's souls in extra tunics ere rest, cloth knotted slack to preserve flow. Then it struck as makeshift. This eve, you improvise likewise instinctively, employing what's at hand over yearning for absent goods. The young one fidgets once, then quiets. Darkness bears down constant and unhurried. Frost navigates distinctively near diminutive forms, infiltrating swifter, siphoning heat abrupt. You reposition subtly, mindful not to disturb, forming a buffer gap as feasible. It's no grand feat, merely sensible. Doze ebbs and flows. You surface to a soft mule, eased by a palm rested tenderly on a spine. Silence suffices. The instance fades, merged into the gloom like vapor in icy gusts. Dawn brings days when the little ones rebound swift, discarding the ordeal like a fleeting nightmare. Others they haul it along, gazes dimmed, strides languid. You've witnessed the spectrum. Tonight's outcome will determine the sort of dawn that follows. As time drags on, you remain increasingly motionless, hoarding heat not only for your own sake, but for the little form nestled nearby. The chill seeps in regardless, numbing your fingertips and tensing your upper body. You endure it, allowing the unease to take hold wherever it chooses. Just before daybreak, the youngster shifts once more, then eases as the gloom starts to lift. Their face radiates a gentle heat against your skin. That subtle glow offers a subtle comfort, delicate yet steady. Daylight emerges gradually. You rise with caution, aware of rigid joints and the resting figure beside you. Beyond the canvas, flames are kindled anew, with wisps of smoke trailing skyward. You ease the child from the covers, bundling them snugly before their toes meet the soil. They squint in the brightness, disoriented, yet composed. Palms are chafed for friction. Heels tapped softly against the dirt. A kind soul extends a steaming mug, cradled in tiny hands. Vapor drifts lazily, bearing solace in its wake. You observe attentively, attuned to the cues that count. Rosy hues in the face, even respiration. The easing of tension as heat permeates once more. This dawn promises better days. A subtle ease washes over you, unaccompanied by fanfare. As the sight breaks down, the young ones weave between the vehicles initially at a languid pace. Then with growing energy as circulation revives, chuckles re-emerge, tentative and fleeting, as though probing the air's permission for volume. It grants it freely. You fold gear and ready yourself in the standard fashion, though now with heightened vigilance. Such evenings forge more than mere resilience. They embed themselves into a young mind's first recollections of perseverance and tenacity. Once the cart lurches forward, the child nestles into position. They're soon captivated by the unfolding scenery. You steal one final look their way, then fix your gaze ahead. In this vast expanse, outlasting the harshest freezes demands more than personal fortitude. It's about shepherding others past trials they'll only grasp in hindsight. And with the path extending endlessly, you realize these vigils will linger in their thoughts, hushed echoes persisting well beyond the vanishing frost. When the next evening draws near, the bite of winter no longer disrupts like an intruder. It has evolved into an unbidden ally, one you've grown accustomed to sharing space with. You sense this change while readying once again, gliding through the well-worn actions, sans any pushback. The ritual holds no novelty, and that familiarity anchors you firmly. The conveyance halts while daylight lingers sufficiently for clear sight. You dismount, extending your frame deliberately, sensing the subtle twinges in your sinews from the journey. The terrain appears unexceptional, sufficiently arid and solid. You embrace it sans second thoughts. Once boundaries are established, not every choice warrants re-evaluation. The settlement assembles with efficiency. Blazes ignite in accustomed spots. Sleeping arrangements unfold with habitual grace. You bypass the former, fretting over details. Instinct guides what proves effective. Even as thoughts wander, darkness descends. The frost advances with restraint. Nearly courteously, it nudges your spine, your limbs, your grasp. Yet it catches you off guard no longer. You greet it with the poise you've cultivated. Garments layer methodically, covers secure in their spots. Your nook envelops you akin to a carapace honed across countless dusks. A minor ritual has crept in unnoticed. Prior to reclining completely, your fingers brush the nearby objects fleetingly. A fastening, a cover's hem, a vessel, not for tweaking, merely to affirm their presence. The motion anchors you, reminiscent of tallying valuables ere slumber claims you. The hours unfold serenely initially. No gusts, no flurries, merely persistent chill and the subdued hum of the group easing into repose. You doze in deeper bouts than before, rousing solely when repositioning calls. Each adjustment is deliberate, followed by renewed stillness. Eventually, the frost intensifies predictably. You stir momentarily, sensing its grip on extremities. Instinctively, you pull heat closer, tweaking position minimally. The interval fades, repose resumes. Not all evenings unfold thus. Some will extract greater tolls, as you well know. Yet this one affirms a vital truth. You've mastered coexisting amid the elements without resisting each twinge. As first light dilutes the shadows, you rouse unhurriedly, free of alarm or strain. The glow arrives as anticipated. You limber up, finding limbs more compliant these days. The soreness rings familiar, controllable. Around you, the outpost stirs in its routine rhythm. Kindlings flare, vapors ascend, exhalations crystallize briefly before dissolving in the growing heat. You navigate the tasks fluidly, grip assured, thoughts serene. While harnessing the cart anew, you halt for a beat, eyeing the spot that cradled the dark hours. It bears no distinction, merely soil and heavens converging in silence. You ascend and arrange yourself as the axles creak into motion. The sway soothes, signaling the vigil's end and the route's persistence. You gaze forward before easing into the steady cadence of the journey. These evenings have transformed you subtly, without fanfare. Bravery doesn't surge through you. Strength doesn't manifest in grand ways. Instead, a quiet stability takes root. You're more attuned to your boundaries and assured in navigating them. In this vast openness, such poise endures. It lingers well beyond the chill's retreat, persisting after the trek concludes, this understated wisdom embedded deep within. As the last evening descends, you welcome it without apprehension or pushback. It arrives as ever, subtle, unadorned, and you accommodate it instinctively. The familiar frost edges into your surroundings, and you counter it with the responses you've honed. Methodically, unhurried, you ready yourself through motions that border on reflex. Blankets positioned, garments layered, essentials stowed for easy nighttime reach. No fumbling, no hesitation. Your form recalls the routine, that certainty as tangible as your possessions. As you lie back, the wagon creaks gently underfoot, a noise that once disrupted your rest and now fades into irrelevance. The tarp rustles above. Livestock respire close by. The settlement sighs collectively, easing into the communal hush of yet another dusk. The chill arrives inevitably, as expected. It nudges your spine, your limbs, your fingers, yet it no longer intrudes harshly. It's merely an element you've factored in, akin to drizzle pattering beyond a secure roof. There, but detached from intimacy, you remain motionless, inhalations measured. Sensing heat pooling in protected spots, slumber eases in without contention. Awakening comes not from unease or ache, but routine. You stir once, then surrender to repose anew. Moments unfold undemandingly. The witching hour slips by, unhurried, unstrained, slender as a thread. The stretches progress as intended, consistent, ordinary. You float amid alertness and doze, conscious yet relaxed, existent without vigilance. In the night's deepest freeze, you rouse momentarily, detecting the profound iciness taking hold. You pull your arms inward, lower your head, and endure. The phase ebbs. Your frame perseveres. No tallying of respirations or conjuring of heat this round. You rely simply on acquired insight. When dawn's glow seeps through the fabric, it arrives as a serene close, not salvation. You rise gradually, limbs rigid yet resilient, all functions intact. That's sufficient. Beyond, the landscape mirrors its usual self. Icy stillness stirs. Blazes reignite. You descend, extend, and draw in the crisp atmosphere deliberately one final time. It seems neutral now, simply authentic. As the outpost stirs completely, you navigate the dawn unreflectively, the darkness integrated seamlessly. It merges into your essence, woven into the flow, rather than a tale requiring recount. With the cart advancing once more, you find your spot, attuned to the reliable sway below. The path extends indefinitely, yet a change has occurred. Evenings no longer threaten from afar. They've receded, teachings internalized over dread. You peer onward, allowing your focus to mellow. Chilly evenings will persist elsewhere, challenging intervals, extended waits, but you grasp now how to face them sans alarm. And, as the route propels you ahead, that assurance endures, subdued and reliable, akin to heat cradled against the frame. Word count, 124. Ease into closure now. The tempo eases. The cart's motion softens in your thoughts, more envisioned than actual. Noises dim. Timber no longer groans abruptly. Gusts no longer assail. All merges into a tranquil, uniform pulse. Allow particulars to haze slightly. The frost recedes to a distant recollection. Bodily tension unwinds. Your respirations normalize. Unhurried and constant. Effortless, not calculated. You're secure in this space, attuned. The trek's rigors lie concluded. No further safeguards or provisions remain. The evening has fulfilled its role, as have you. Picture the covering overhead as cozy and stationary, poised in a hushed expanse, flames extinguished, beasts at ease, terrain in suspended quiet. Your musings wander freely, unbound by specifics. Should visions arise, they're faint and remote. A silvery skyline, the subtle turn of axles, an endless route unfolding sans haste. No compulsion to pursue it further. Repose is yours. Each exhalation draws you further into relaxation, release and strain from unsuspected areas. Neck eases, fingers relax. The void within your gaze darkens peacefully. No demands upon you anymore. You've weathered it. You've adjusted. You've reached this serene interlude demanding nothing. So immerse yourself fully. Permit the audio to dissolve. Transform the chill to reminiscence. Allow the path to proceed solo, solely for this evening. Pleasant slumber.